What's up, everybody? This is KARAK with ACG, and I'm here with Lord Addict and Abzi for the Best Gaming Podcast number 469, I think. 469. There we go. Podcast number 469. Thank you, everybody, for sitting in and joining us. We're going to talk about the Assassin's Creed trailer that came out for Red, or I almost called it Shadow Legends. Red, or Shadows now.
Raid.
Yeah. Raid Shadow Legends by our Raycons.
New sponsor.
Oh, dude. Yeah, technically. And then we're going to talk about the Division's Heartland thing got delayed or got canceled. We're going to talk about Sony changing their stance on how they're reporting numbers a little bit. Bunch of other stuff we've got. It's sort of a random news week because there's been some layoffs and things that we want to talk about, as well as some business advances. Just different stuff. If you guys have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll try to get to them. Again, thank you to Lord Addict for taking the time out of his day to join us for this. We were going to also get Asa, but he ended up having plans, so he'll try to get on. And I think next Wednesday we are also going to have Fighting Cowboy on to talk about games, which should be a blast because he always has opinions that he ain't afraid of sharing. How you been,
yeah,
Addict?
Brother? Pretty good. I actually just recently reached out to Fighting Cowboy and have him put on ILP.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's fun.
Yeah.
He's fun.
Yeah,
Really
I've been
nice
pretty
guy.
good, man. Taking a crack at streaming. So that's been a unique stance. People think content creation takes a lot. Like, put content creation with streaming, like, together. Like,
Deep rabbit hole.
yeah. But I've been enjoying it, man. I've been enjoying it. I think it's just something new, that I kind of get the same feeling, but on a bigger scale, on when I find a new way I like to edit something and I start doing that, but then that gets boring and I'm like, damn, now I got to find something else. Like,
Right.
Dude,
Right.
you have to do the 14-hour streams to remain competitive. 14 hours at a time every day. So good luck.
Are we talking about pirate software right now?
Everyone on Twitch that's doing super well is streaming forever. You know, doing subathons and 24-hour streams and 14 hours. Dude, Summit 1G has been addicted to Star Citizen. I checked his VODs. He's been playing Star Citizen 14 hours a day for the last month, dude, or 2 weeks. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, I mean, they've changed, as we talked about here, they've changed the algorithm so much that it's obvious you have to do other stuff. And so people who've been wondering in the past, we weren't going to switch the podcast on to a different channel, but the change that happened in in January and February, we've now noticed is pretty heavily impacted the channel. So I'm probably going to have to move the podcast to a different channel. Wasn't expecting that because in the past I could eat it, but now it's just absolutely kicking the shit out of everybody. And there's a lot of people moving around, and we may have to make that choice as well to move it. We'll do an announcement or whatever, and then we'll move it to another channel. But everybody will be we'll probably double stream even for a little bit of time before we move it. But I was impressed with the algorithm's ability to absolutely hammer the shit out of the channel in a very short amount of time.
Oh, it beat the shit out of me.
Yeah, it was definitely something I was warned about, but I didn't notice right away. And then I started looking. I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is making some huge impacts. So but that's enough about the YouTube business. Let's talk games. What have you been playing? We'll go with Lord Addict first. What have you been playing?
Ideon Chronicle, 100 Hero War. I've been recording for that. I've been playing some Hades 2 as well. That's an interesting game. A game called Let 'Em Cook. We actually had the devs on ILP this Saturday, just a 2-man dev team. And that game, I didn't really jump on the Vampire Survivor train, but I like this game. It's kind of similar, but in Vampire Survivor, I felt like there was control but not control at the same time. You know what I'm saying? But on here, you have your main person, and that's the dude that just randomly attacks. And you can hire up to 4 assistants because he's a cook. And you can give them weapons too. And they got their own stats and their own abilities. And the dynamic just gets crazy when you keep adding these things.
Yeah. It's cool to see. I'm also on the opposite side where I haven't enjoyed one yet. But I think Deep Rock Galactic Survivors or whatever is probably the closest to truly coming to enjoy them. They're just not my thing. I've continued to try, but I don't know. For whatever reason, they're not. But I have a feeling it just has to do with the format. Like if there was a cyberpunk one, like the Ascent, kind of cyberpunkish, but it was that, there's probably a higher chance I would enjoy it. What else?
There was.
Oh, go ahead.
On PAX East, I played an indie game that was. It was like Vampire Survivor, but it was a tank, and you had to like switch the components on the tank. That was pretty cool.
A mech one would be cool, yeah. With how many
cool.
things you can change, yeah.
And it would make sense in the gameplay style of missiles flying everywhere and lasers coming out versus a person with lasers coming out their back or something. You know, that shouldn't really bother me.
I actually, for the first time, because I didn't play Hellblade back in the day, because I don't like her like whispering in my ear. It took me like half the game to get used to it, but I did go back and I beat Hellblade 1. So
nice. I still need to do that. Yeah.
You know, and I will say, people were telling me that the combat's like the worst combat they've ever played. That combat can definitely improve, but it's by far not the worst combat I've ever played. Not even close.
It looks better than Witcher's, at least, I think. Well,
it looks
not
better.
like the
It doesn't
breadth of
feel
stuff
better,
you can
but
do.
yeah.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't
I feel like Witcher, you actually feel more in control of him. Hellblade, I feel like the impact is better, but you feel like you have more access to actually fight in The Witcher.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I think overall, when you look at it, especially with a Hellblade style of game, I'd love to see them improve the combat a little bit, not get too complex because it's not that style of game, but make it a little bit so you felt like you could do a couple more things because it was one note. I wouldn't say it was the worst because I've definitely played worse combat than that. Yeah, for sure. What about you, Abzi? What are you playing?
I'm still on V Rising. Still playing that a lot. Awesome game. I played a tiny bit of Hades 2, and then I was like, okay, this is cool, and I'm doing the same thing now. I'm just chilling and letting it cook. And I've been playing the Arena Breakout Infinite. Terrible name. I hate saying that name. But I've been playing that in open beta, which is like a mobile game that got transferred into PC, which is a Tarkov ripoff, but more casual friendly. Kind of like in the middle between Call of Duty and Tarkov, straight in the middle.
Yeah. Is it free to play?
Yes, it's free to play. The mobile game is definitely pay to win. You can buy in-game currency and all that shit. I don't know if they had an interview with the dev. One of the streamers had an interview with the devs, or I guess the main dev, the CEO or whatever. And he said that the payments will be limited to cosmetics and convenience. And so that's, what is convenience? You know what I mean? So a lot of things can stretch that. Yeah.
And it's a multiplayer game, so it would become pay to win then.
100%.
Let's say something. Yeah. Okay. So it'd be interesting to see how that boils up. Anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. I'm just there's nothing crazy this month I'm looking forward to other than I'm excited. I'm gonna play Hellblade 1 before Hellblade 2 comes out, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, first of all, I want to say thank you very much to Jet Black Ninja for becoming a member of the channel. I absolutely appreciate it. Thanks to all the super chats. And it is, yeah. Thanks to all the super chats and all the people who support the channel at all times. It's awesome, whether you're in the Discord, YouTuber, Twitch, what have you, or on YouTube. I absolutely want to say how much I appreciate it because it does definitely help the channel when you guys watch these, or when you at least enjoy them and watch these. I have been playing... We played some, not Breakpoint. God damn it! I was gonna say Wildlands yesterday. We're putting together. And thank you to the, it's up to them to announce it. But thank you to one of the patrons for sort of coming up with an idea of how to put a group together that actually worked this time, which did work. But we put together a little. We've been doing it almost every night, playing little co-op games or like 2 or 3 person games, and just sort of diving in, and that has been awesome because it's a breath of fresh air, because right now there's no codes for games at all. And it's been lean. So I did the 101, cutscene video, which did terrible. And I wasn't thinking it was going to do amazing, but I was like, okay, man, I think I did good job on this. And it's, you'll always hear people say, hey, Sometimes your best video will be one you didn't work on, and the worst video will be the one you worked heavily on. That is pretty much what's going on with this video.
It was so depressing when you put a bunch of time into a video and go triple copper.
I was getting Discord fans ideas. I was like, hey man, what's a cutscene you like? And I had 3 terabytes of videos, so my system was slow, and I was working for. I delayed it for like 2 weeks while I got it right.
Long time.
I worked, and I posted it, and it's less than 10,000 views. And I was
it
like,
was a great nostalgia. Like it was a nostalgia booster, man. It's so many great lines in the past that I forgot about.
There's a lot of good ones, man. There's a lot of good ones. A lot of good voice lines. So that was fun to do. But yeah, there's no real code out right now at all. So a lot of it is just sort of treading water until we start getting back into reviews and stuff like that. So I've just been playing side games, a bunch of Starfield, a bunch of Fallout 4. Fallout 4 got the update today. Yesterday, I think, or the day before, and then Starfield gets an update today. So I'll do some tech looks at those. Okay. So I'll play those to sort of tech spec them and see how those have worked out. I know the Fallout 4 one, from what I hear, is good, works quite well. So that's a good update to see. But Wildlands, man, it doesn't have any new upscaling. It's got its old options. When you jump into the graphics options, you'll be like looking around, and they're the old Ubisoft graphics options. It's an old game now. How old is Wildlands? It's got to be
2016 maybe 2016 2017
maybe?
Or
yeah, so
older.
Dude, we're getting on in years with that one then.
Yeah.
And it feels like it, but it is also stupid fun. There's nothing other than just, here's some bad guys, you go right, I'll go left, but there's something really enjoyable about it.
Fun and spurs.
Yep, it's been really good. And then I watched Jay play the Ascent a bunch and reinstalled it, because I'll probably jump back into that. I played a bunch streaming, and the Ascent is awesome, man. It's too bad those guys aren't doing another one. I understand.
Awesome soundtrack, too.
It's an awesome soundtrack, dude. It's an awesome world. I understand why they do not want to do another one, or why they're looking at doing these other things, but at the same time, damn, I want a new Ascent. I really do enjoy that game, and we do get some shooters, some twin stick shooters, obviously, but the more the better for me. Personally.
I dropped that game because I had like a lot of performance issues when that game first came out.
Yep. Yeah, it was known for them. I didn't have performance issues or co-op, but everybody in our chat, well, not everybody, but a good majority of our people in the Discord were having connection issues at the very minimum, where they would go into co-op and it would pop them out. It's like Wasteland 3 all over again, where it's just constantly, constant little issues here and there. So it was too bad, but such is life. That's sort of the way it goes these days, it feels like. Other than that, let's jump into Assassin's Creed Red. No, okay, sorry, Shadows. That was not on purpose. I like Red better. I don't know about you guys. I think Shadows is too soft again. We're getting these.
It's too generic. Red is not that generic, even though red is just red. It's not that generic.
But it's murder. It's blood. It's like it means something.
That's what they need to call it. Assassin's Creed Murder.
Dude, that would be amazing.
R is a menacing word. It's not Muckduck. That's from The Office. But.
Yeah, it's not. But that's the thing, is it's not soft. There's not a ton of fucking like consonants and vowels in it. It's just red. It hits. And Shadows has been overused to the point of like, come on.
Shadows Rising or something.
Yeah, Shadows the Warning, Gears of War the Shadowing. So we got the trailer today. Then there was a trailer about behind the scenes for the 2 characters. One's historic, and then the other one is fictional. The Shinobi is fictional. And then also IGN did a IGN First, where they go to the studio and they got even more data, which was... The trailer was okay, but it was all CGI, right? Like, that's the big problem. I don't know about you guys.
It's fucking annoying, man.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be about flavor, I guess, but it's just like, we don't know, it's CGI.
Coming out in 6 months, we should see.
Yeah, true.
Like, I know a lot of people are arguing about what the character is or what. I don't give a fuck about any of that, man. I want to see if the gameplay is good or not. I want to see if they improved stuff, if they improved the combat, if they made it more Japanese-like with the parries and like fun shit. Made the parkour less clumsy and stuff. That's the stuff I want to see. I want to see how it plays, basically.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Lord? Were you gonna say something?
I think the issue with us, I always give them the first trailer you show me could be CG, but normally we used to getting these announcements a lot earlier. So it's just like if it's like 6 months, we know you got gameplay. There's no way you don't have gameplay. So just show us gameplay, because at that point it's like a little weird. Okay, this game's coming out in 6 months. Like, even though you probably ain't hiding nothing, I'm scratching my head. What you hiding? Like,
and Lord Alex, like, they asked for pre-orders as well, and it's coming out soon. It's like, you know, why ask for pre-orders if you're not going to show a gameplay trailer or what the product's going to be?
I think they should have waited till June, because they have a date to show gameplay, which is June, which is their Ubisoft event. They should have just waited. I think it would have been better to wait to there. I do want to give a shout out to somebody who gave us a super chat, and I did not miss it. I just want to let these guys talk. Spec Ops, $50 super chat. Sending for the Manscraper commercial. Got me laughing as I'm cooking over here. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. I'm glad I could give you a little bit of enjoyment. I appreciate the super chat. They help the channel. Love the games. $2 super chat. I'm so sick of CGI trailers. Show me what you got. Show me what you got. It's true. We're stuck. This is the way it's going to be for these companies for a while, and I don't know why. I don't know why they did the trailer now. There's a rumor that there was shit leaking from certain people, and that maybe it was like, well, let's get it out ahead of time.
What they should have done, if they were going to do that, is they are going to show gameplay at their event next month. Next month. They should have said more at the event next month or something like that at the end of the trailer. Just because even though, you know, it is, unfortunately, this is kind of, you know, standard practice these days. No gamer wants to see that. So it's just like, you know, if you came out and you'd be like, look, here's the trailer. We just want to give you an overall arching moment of what the story's going to be like. If you want gameplay, here's the date you want to go to. And if they would have did all that in one go, I feel like more people would have been a little bit more understanding.
Well, luckily, I mean, again, depending on where you go, ours in our chat at least was pretty happy about what they saw. Didn't really have an issue, because they also jumped to the second video and the third video pretty quickly as a group. We all did. So getting off of sort of what they did wrong or right, because again, we know where they're going with it in June. What I did see was IGN's event, and I want to talk about a couple things that are clarified with IGN's first video, which is pretty nice. So first of all, you do have, he was only there for about 3 years of his life, or 3 years of impactful life there in Japan. You have your main character who's going to be your samurai and your heavy weaponry, and they did state damage to some locations, the ability to cut with a sword, possibly damage locations, that kind of stuff. And then you've got your shinobi character, and they stated clearly that the missions won't just be a mission, here, jump in, the mission is over at a certain point. There will be stages in some of these missions which will allow you to switch between those characters at specific times in a stage. So you might, like, let's say, enter and then open a gate, and now you can choose to be the other guy if you want to, and switch and change. The thing that interested me was dynamic weather systems changing the game landscape. So they stated there will be dynamic weather when you play, as well as shaders on things like trees turning to autumn. But then when you go to different quest lines, depending on how Lord Attic would play or Abzi would play, we can get completely different environments, meaning the grass would be dead during the winter, and I have to use a completely different style of entry to a castle than if it was summer and the grass was high, like you would see in, let's say, a Horizon Zero Dawn. They also gave examples of a frozen pond versus a pond that wasn't frozen, changing the way you might go. Footprints, footsteps, all being different and being tracked differently depending on what time you go in the seasons. They said that's one of the biggest things they're doing is seasons in the game, so that you will be able to see these changes as you play and as you choose. And it takes in what you do. So it, in some way, depending, I'm sure, on who you take out first, it moves your season forward or moves somebody else's season slightly differently, and you'll be able to choose between the two. You can also choose between the two when you go into these quests, and they stated it will not only change the way you do it, but some of the objectives might adjust because of how it plays out. With, of course, the shinobi being super stealth-like, got the hidden blade, all of that kind of stuff. I did like that they showed her when she was fighting the one guy in the CGI, and he came up, and like her speed was 10 times what the samurai's. You know, there was a good, you could see that difference right away of like how she's going to attack. And that kind of stuff I did enjoy. They also talked about, it's the map the size of Origins. So they've chosen a slightly smaller map, and what they're going to do is make that map more detailed, and they're going towards a little bit more towards Mirage. They stated that it won't be in the same style as Valhalla, in you'll still be able to do some stuff, but it sounds like they're truncating it a bit down with objectives that you're distinctly going after, things that you're distinctly doing. Yeah. There's also a full Brotherhood aspect, like the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. You'll be able to hire spies, build a base, have your spies go out, collect data, jump in and help you during fights at different times, have them come in as spies to help you. If you're like the ninja and you get attacked, you might be able to hire them to come in. They'll build the base. They'll build... There was a couple other things they were saying, but it was translated incorrectly because they were speaking in English, but it was heavy accents. There was a couple things they talked about that it looks like when it comes to the full Brotherhood thing, you will also have a cultist-style enemy of some kind. They talked about these semi-bosses and targets around the game world that can move and adjust as you play. So most likely that'll also have to do with the political changes that occurred at that time with like samurai leadership. And,
are they trying to be historically accurate or this time? Or
so what they stated was historically accurate for the time and the situations that occurred. Historically accurate in the 3-year lifespan or the 3-year time span in which one of the main characters, because it is 2 main characters they're switchable. And the history that's there, and they've studied as much as they can, but a lot of it's just different religious writing that talk about meeting him at events or seeing this character around, and some other historical volumes. The Shinobi character is from a real person, a man, but she is completely fake. She's like...
She's like Japanese? Is she Japanese?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is funny that they because this game's taking place in Japan, and it's the Asian descendant that's the one that's made up.
Yeah. Well, that is true, right?
So they're using a historically accurate character who's not Japanese, but then a made-up character who is Japanese.
Right, the Shinobi. And the big problem with, or the big realistic reason why that's done, which actually makes sense, is because the Shinobi and Ninja, we've blown up through our history as being these, like, they're fighting people, and they're, most of it was all spycraft, and they I mean, you can go and study all this. It wasn't necessarily what we see in the movies, like American Ninja and shit like that. So the idea of making that character directly connected with, the Assassins membership and stuff seems like that's probably what they're going to do. But you can't, you are be able to, like I said, you are going to be able to choose even during the missions at some specific parts where you can jump in. And I thought that was actually pretty cool. I also loved the difference in size, because he was known to be 6'2", 6'3". That is a big man here, let alone in 1500s. Like that is a towering man.
Let alone in Japan.
In Japan, sorry, that's what I wanted to add, was let alone in Japan in the 1500s. And the weapons he uses aren't just samurai swords, which is great. He's got the clubs, the bante, all that kind of stuff. So that's actually exciting to see those kind of things. But it won't be a game where you're like hitting a button and magically switching during the missions. You won't be like magically switching. You can do that elsewhere, but once you get in, it's going to be. He said it was going to be like checkposts.
It's like Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, so that's all of that I heard was good. I wish IGN hadn't just had it there and instead have sort of been. I wish that was on the Ubisoft trailer. But the one thing that I got from it was that they obviously are trying to take Syndicate's design and then merge it with Odyssey's design. Odyssey has one character you choose, but Syndicate has 2, and they stated, this will be the first time said Syndicate, blah, blah, blah. I just want to know how exactly they're going to play off what would be considerably a short period of time. I think I'm so accustomed to a lot, not all, but some of the Assassin's Creed games having a long historical period. But we'll just have to see how they do it. I would love to see graphics so I could see how he plays. Like I said, they said, and then they also said dynamic enemy routes. The enemy routes are no longer in the static way that we've seen, but weather, if it's raining, they will adjust. They'll gather on fires. Now, we've heard these stories before, so I'm going to take that with a grain of salt. But they did talk about it for like 4 minutes. They didn't just say it's going to be one thing. They were talking about there will be big changes depending on the weather, not only how you get to the castle, what you can do, but also like what the enemies are doing and what armor or equipment they might wear. I'm taking that with a grain of salt until I see it. I'm taking it all with a grain of salt until I see it. I just sort of need to adjust.
I just want to see the game. I don't give a shit about a lot of ideological bullshit.
Yeah.
I feel you. Like you look at something like that, and you're like, I can see like giant potential, but I got to see how it actually plays out. Especially with Assassin's Creed, because they have two different forms of getting their games right now. So it's just like, what are you doing? Are you doing a merger? Are you not doing a merger? Are you kind of doing a merger? Like,
You mean of the different style of
The
titles?
Infinity.
Well, the Infinity is for sure going to be connected to the later missions and stuff. That there's definitely like seasons or something that's coming up. So you really have to see how that's going to play out, because the Infinity idea seems to me like they're just trying to take the Animus and turn it into a place where you jump in and you do stuff
Like a
within the
meta
different
world.
worlds, a meta world. But I got to admit to you, this is what I said with PS3 Home. It sounds good, but then all you want to do is just jump in the fucking game. You don't want to waste time in so they have to make it make sense, and we don't know enough about Infinity to know. That sort of sucks. It's Japan though. That's the one bonus. We finally get
now we
Japanese.
just need that Forza
samurai
Horizon
game.
in Japan.
Forza Horizon in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Like through Tokyo and stuff, or like the outskirts.
Was Japan
That'd
known
be
for
cool.
massive dinosaurs though? I mean,
Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift. Yeah.
Wait,
yeah,
no,
Tokyo
Forza
Drift.
or Horizon Zero Dawn? Which
I
one
thought
did
he
you
said
say?
Horizon.
No,
I thought he said
Horizon.
Horizon.
Like Zero
Horizon.
Dawn?
Right, I thought you said
No.
Horizon Zero Dawn. You're
Forza
talking about Forza.
Horizon.
Makes way
Forza,
more
okay,
sense
okay.
now.
Yeah, that'd
'Cause-
be cool. Like drifting stuff. That'd be cool.
Because I was sitting here going, I don't
Dude,
know.
they could
I
have the
don't-
Japanese dragons though. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah, the lung. Yeah, those
Is that
things
Chinese
are awesome.
or Japanese?
Well,
Both, right?
technically they do have both, but yeah, that's the lung is Chinese. Actually, I think you're right. on the pronunciation.
has-
Somebody can correct us in here.
Japan
Go ahead.
has a similar one though, I'm sure.
They do.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, long one.
Have you ever?
No,
Lung is Chinese.
yeah.
Thanks, old boy.
Lung is
Did you
Chinese.
ever notice Godzilla? Thank
Godzilla,
you. That would be amazing.
dude, Godzilla boss fight in Horizon, that'd be sick, man.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Kong
I hadn't
shows
thought
up
about
and
that.
shit.
So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm gonna have to see more of it, because when you see the CGI, it just doesn't do anything. It hasn't done anything for me since the PS2 era, and we're gonna get that thing where it's like, oh, the graphics are turned down. We'll see the initial whatever, and then when we get the game, it'll probably not have as many choices in graphics or what have you, like Watch Dogs. But I need to see footage. I need to see these guys attacking. I need to see if it feels rock paper scissors like Ghost of Tsushima, but still feel better than obviously Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which
please.
other than the powers didn't feel like you were a Viking. It felt like you
The
were just a
combat-
guy with some axes.
In the last like 3 Assassin's Creeds, I wasn't like a huge fan of. They were okay. Odyssey was fun for me because there
was
were
gonna say.
like cool builds you can do, like a poison bow, whatever, stuff like that.
Yeah. And you said, Lord, before we started, you said which ones of these have you beaten? Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. Have you beaten any of them?
I beat Odyssey. I played a lot of Origins, and I dropped Valhalla pretty quick. I don't know why. Like something about it was just like overwhelming me. Maybe it was because it was right when the new consoles came out, and I was playing
20
so
massive
much at the
maps.
time. What?
Yeah.
The 20 massive maps.
Yeah. So I would say to this day, my favorite Assassin's Creed is probably still Black Flag. Neither that or 2. Like I really enjoyed 2, but I don't know why, but Black Flag, I really enjoyed that game like a lot.
The other thing I would like to see in this is, and they did show a little bit of the weapons in the mocap that they were using. I would love to see a good number of weapons to wear. Depending on what you're using, it feels distinctly different, especially because of her and seeing what weapons she uses. At this time, no Kirsagama. No, I didn't see any of the stuff
So
that
I
I
was gonna
really
ask.
like. Yeah, there's no, I haven't seen any of that. But I think it'll mostly be blade and stick, so it's easier for collision detection.
Do you think they'll have a great sword there? Or some shit?
I think they'll do the Nodashi, the huge horseman
one.
sword. Yeah, and which would be awesome because I just love having it. Even though you're a guy, you can be 5 foot. You obviously in this game you'll be huge, but in other games they'll let you have it no matter what. I love that weapon. Yeah, man. It is what it is. It was about what I expected, which was unfortunately like CGI, and then these other side videos, which man, if I was I don't run the companies, but there would definitely be a different way I would handle it. Also, they stated with it being Odyssey style, or around Origins level and breadth and width, that they're going to try to replicate living, breathing worlds better. And I don't know what that means. Like, sometimes I swear to God, to Ubisoft, that means fishing.
Yeah.
You know,
but they usually
they'll
have
be
good
fish.
world building. To be honest, like they have good NPCs.
They do.
Doing different
They do.
activities and shit. Yeah.
They do. I sort
Maybe
of.
animals?
That's true. No, that is what I think they mean, is like animals, and then people. Oh, they do mean people moving, because they stated the locations they have a particular feel, like the war zones feel distinctly war zoned, like things have been destroyed and fires and
cool.
trampling, and then other places will be more for your agriculture and stuff. So, but again, we'll just have to see, man. You never quite know. It's just one of those things where, like, I don't want to blow it out of proportion that, that I'm not excited, but I sort of am not excited till I see gameplay. CGI is just not for me. It's just not for me, man. I don't know.
I think I'm with you on that. Like, they showed me enough to gain my interest, but they haven't done enough to, like, take my money. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what Absy was saying. They're asking for what?
Pre-orders.
Pre-orders?
Mm-hmm.
That seems odd to me, man. You know,
At
like
least
if
do
you
it
haven't
after
shown
the
us
June thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And by
don't
the
really
way,
surprise me, though.
I shouldn't blame them. Everybody's doing this now, but I hate it. Well, I guess I can blame
Even
them.
for
I can just blame
DLC, you
everybody.
can pre-order DLC now, which I find like the weirdest fucking thing, man. Like, why? Why in the world would anyone pre-order DLC, let alone a game? Why would anyone pre-order a game if it's digital? Yeah,
I don't know. It's just one of those things where, I mean, I don't know why you would pre-order anyway, because half the time people complain that on Steam it has to compact or unpack.
Yeah, it takes longer than downloading.
Might as well
most of the
download
time.
it. Yeah, dude, just wait until it's done.
Yeah.
Download the damn thing. So again, in June, we're going to be seeing the end, sort of the end result of this work, and see some actual gameplay. I am excited for the Brotherhood aspect, as well as the cultists or what have you, whatever this group of enemies are. I just assume it's going to be like people hired to take you out if you become too well known or something.
Mercenaries or whatever.
Yeah. R Green, $5 super chat, longtime listener. Recently, I've noticed a low rumbling, rattling coming from mics. Hang on one second. I just clicked off. Coming from mics, not just current stream too. Evident on headphones. Anyone else? I don't know. But most likely, if you hear anything, that's going to be from me, because I live next to a construction zone. So if it's going to be anybody, it would be me. It wouldn't be these guys. These guys are all in the just completely quiet. Absy's got his own room separated from everybody. I'm just joking. It's not, isn't it pretty close to a kitchen or something in your place, Absy?
Something like that. I put up dividers and shit, but I'm moving and pretty soon. So
where are you moving to?
An apartment.
Oh, really? With friends or by yourself?
By myself, but I think my friend wants to like have kind of half a room there or some shit like that, and pay me some rent or something like that.
Half a room? You mean like a
just
place
come and
to
go.
escape? Escape the fam. Yeah, no, I had nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
and I think Lord Addict has his own room set up too, right? Don't you?
Mine's connected to the kitchen too.
Oh, is it? I
Nice.
do sometimes see. There was one time I was talking to him in a chat, and somebody came up behind Lord Addict and gave him a big hug right in the middle of the podcast.
Most likely it was Grace.
Oh, was it Grace that time? I can't remember. I think it's when some bad news had happened, if I remember right. So, hey, you got people who love you nearby. It's always good. And I got dogs.
Yeah.
Other than that, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah. For the most part, like especially during the day like this, like no one's here. So.
Yeah. Most of the time it's like that. Like I told these guys, though, just a word of warning, I may get a delivery today I have to sign for. That's why the dogs are locked outside.
And since I knew I was doing this podcast, I sent Grace to her friend's house.
You're like, sorry, man. Can't be here. Let's see. What else for Assassin's Creed? Anything $59.99, I'm sure, on PC, $69 on consoles, right? I feel like that's... I don't know why, but I feel like that's the price.
$69.99 is going to be the price.
Unless they're deciding to use this game to test their $70 theories.
They could. They could choose this, but I think they have their PlayStation Connect, or PlayStation Connect, Ubisoft Connect, So they have a subscription there. They'll probably just do it that way and not worry about it. Let's see, what else do we got? Moving on from there, unless anybody has any questions real quick about Samurai Ninjas and Ubisoft. Oh, God, we're talking about abs. Here we go. Or not about abs.
Actually, go back to your random protest that you don't know what you are protesting for. I have no idea what this guy... These people are such snowflakes, like these anti-woke, like, oh my God, everything is woke, and then the other people, like, everyone's a fucking snowflake on the internet. Get off the internet, you know, go outside, touch some grass, you know, chill out.
What
man.
if outside is snow? Maybe...
You know, touch some snow then. You know, it's... Fuck yeah, dude.
What were you going to say, Lord Attic?
I guess when it comes to, like, these people, like, claiming, like, the game's woke and, like this... First off, the samurai's based on a real person, and second off, like, we're talking about a franchise that had the apple of Eden that like sucks the life out of people. Like, you can't demand 100% historical like accuracy when there's items like that in the universe.
Bro, if there's the title Assassin's Creed on a game, I instantly do not think of historical accuracy. I have no idea. I just want to know if the game is good or not. I want to see gameplay. That's all I care about. Dude, every single game coming out seems like an ideological war, and it's driving me crazy. Whether a girl is hot or not, whether a guy is white or black, like, chill the fuck out. Everybody, Jesus. Sorry.
For me, I mean, I'll make my choice on what I think when I see the actual game. Like, when I see and how it plays, and if those things make sense on everything. But currently, right now, at least from what I saw, and definitely I played Assassin's Creed Liberation, and, you know, which is a black protagonist. Great game, by the way. Slave in that one. That was a phenomenal game. I played
Origins, you know, too. Same thing.
Well, yeah. But I mean, I was just saying that in different time spans than ancient Egypt and stuff.
Oh,
I want to look at the actual. I want to see the actual game when it comes to like what's going on with who the characters are. This one, at least from what I've seen, is exactly what I had been told it was going to be 6 months ago. So I don't know what my 6 month ago like reaction was, but it's definitely tempered because I've had 6 months to know it was going to be this. So take that as you will. I'm sure somebody will get mad, but I honestly do not care about that kind of stuff. Like, as in people getting mad at me. I've dealt with real life stuff. Speaking of real life stuff, the most important thing we're going to discuss today, Diablo 4. So, dude, this turned into a discussion yesterday. Somebody said, does anybody actually even like Diablo 4? Because the people who say they like it hate every change. So this season, finally, they've got something positive?
Like, apparently, like, I've seen the subreddit's been positive. I just checked around and stuff. Apparently, they made changes that players liked. They listened to whatever. It had over 10,000 lines of patch notes, apparently, and among them was the like rechanging loot and stuff like that. So to my understanding, less loot drops, so it's not a loot splurge every 2 seconds.
Right.
And but at the same time, more significant loot does drop, so you know it's more valuable, I guess. And they apparently changed like how necromancers work and like a bunch of other stuff. And apparently the new season game mode is pretty fun. I went in to fuck around. They added some QOL stuff. The map is like transparent now, so you can see the actual game behind it. It's not quite where I'd want it for an ARPG, but it's better. Yeah, it seems they're doing well this season. At least today's the first day, I guess, or second day.
So with the Necromancer, has that been... Because didn't you guys complain about the Necromancer since day one? There was something about, like, something about, like, how they were able to cast spells that they couldn't even be... You couldn't even really be a good Necromancer or something in the past?
Yeah, they were super buffed and nerfed and I don't know what the hell. But to me, I loved Necromancers and, like, Diablo 2 and a lot of ARPGs I play, where I like to raise like a skeletal army and feel like a necromancer. But in D3 and I guess in the beginning of D4, they felt a lot like edgy mages, you know what I mean? Just like a couple skeletons here, they die quickly and you have a lot of spells. But apparently necromancer is better now. I played a little bit. There's more focus on making your minions better and stuff like that.
But would you say all this stuff is more created and geared towards just the people who are still playing? Or is any of this... Because I want to talk about Destiny 2 and some excitement I actually have towards that in a bit. But would you say that... I mean, is this there to get newbies into it? Or is it more just like this is mostly end game or super hardcore build kind of improvements, or is it both?
I think it's somewhere in the middle. I guess like the game with its QOL is better for all kinds of players, but I definitely think they listen to their core player base, ARPG players that play ARPGs in a certain way and like these customizability of builds and focus on that style of gameplay rather than just like going in and playing the campaign and stuff, because those are like their long-term fans are going to play season after season and probably buy battle passes or whatever. So I'm guessing they're catering more to them. Which is, I guess, good because I mean, to see a community that's 99% of the time negative be positive for once collectively is pretty cool to see, you know. So I'm guessing it's working, but it's only been 1 day or 2 days. I think it just released today or yesterday. Is yesterday Tuesday? Yeah, so yesterday.
Yeah, I want to know, you know, how they're handling onboarding and stuff, because I think a lot of you guys who played it, you had your issues, and then that causes a person who may have been thinking to get into it to go, oh man, you know, it's obviously, and it's not just long-term stuff, there was quality of life stuff. So then a new person looks at it and goes, you know what, I'll try Path of Exile or something. I'll go over here.
And Path of Exile 2 is right around the corner.
And
right?
Path of Exile 2 is right around the corner. And so it can be easy for you to just be like, okay, I'm not going to jump, you know, into this new title, and I'm always interested in how they handle the growth, like what they're looking for growth, or how they're looking at handling growth. So this is season 4 already. So
yeah,
how many seasons does a Diablo have before you look at like Diablo 5? Would it?
And
we're talking
I think Diablo 3
years?
is still going, man. Diablo 3 is still going through seasons. I'm pretty sure. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, they just keep going. Maybe sometimes just minor changes instead of major new gameplay features. But it's hard to compete when, you know, you have Path of Exile, which is, you know, every season, to my knowledge, they're doing like a huge game mechanic, and then they're adding it into the game. So they keep layering the game more and more every time there's a new season with those. I think they call them leagues. I don't play much Path of Exile, but I'm excited for the second one.
So here's where I'm excited, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but the changes to Destiny 2 for the last place, it are pretty wicked. It's not completely newbie friendly or anything. Their onboarding isn't completely done, but they've adjusted some of the ways they do the currency. But the big thing is they've unsunset the guns. So now old guns will be unleveled, and then they will get their own unique attributes assigned to them. And then there's a new thing called a fire team power, which means when you get a group together, it levels you like Division does, hopefully a little better than Division, but it takes you within 5 levels of the highest person. So there's no more a need to grind to even do the thing. You can now, I could jump in with Addict, who plays it all the time, and be, you know, still doing damage. Go ahead. Sorry, because you know more. Go for it.
What I like what they're doing, because I dropped off of Destiny. I ain't played it really in like a year and a half. And I like they're bringing those sunset weapons back, but they're also making it lore-wise. Like you know, we're gearing up for the Witness in the final shape, and like Shaxx doesn't really do a whole lot besides PvP. He's like, we gotta rebuild. We gotta get these old weapons that we can't use no more. And like his whole event is dedicated to those.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the stuff I've seen for it, and there is a ton, but the stuff that I have tracked, there are some really good changes to that. Like the ability to mix and match the types now with the prismatic. Yeah. That looks, that's just like a subclass for all of them, right? So you've got your major, the prismatic is like a subclass.
Yeah, it's to what I see, it's going to take like a slot, just like everything else, where instead of just playing one, you can mix and match.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Strain and Void. It's like the only two I really use, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to combine the two.
Yeah, they did. I covered it in the preview video, and they did talk about combining for the grenade powers and special powers and stuff. It just, dude, it look. I mean, I think they're onboarding still. They need a better tutorial. They need, a lot of cleanup there. But from what I've seen in this one, it's definitely their biggest. And they're stating this is the last sort of story arc for this entire thing. Do you have any clue what Destiny would do for the next story arc? Because this seems like the major everything for Destiny 2. Like, we're not seeing Destiny 3, right? They'll go to the Vex. Okay.
Yeah, gotcha. No, Destiny 3 is coming.
Is it? Is it coming? Yes. Because they stated that after this, they still have extra, like, stories that they're going to release for Destiny 2 that tell the continuing story afterwards.
And I think that's to give them buffer time to come out with 3. There's 3 chapters. Yeah,
true
there's
sequel.
3 chapters after this, and I think those chapters are gonna have like some type of drama in it, but for the most part, it's just gonna be the aftermath of the witness. And I think they'll probably go to the Vex, because out of all the factions, the Vex we really don't know a lot about. Like, I don't know if you know, but the Vex are from the future.
Yeah,
and they send people to the past. So we've never really met, like, besides Atheon and maybe like the occasional random person, we've never met really someone high up in the Vex anarchy. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm kind of curious what they do on that, because I feel like the Vex, unless like the witness was hiding from someone else the whole time too. So I mean, they could easily introduce something beyond the darkness.
And they have the new enemies in this one too, the full new enemy faction, the Dread or whatever. So they've got a full new enemy faction in this as well. So they're definitely doing a lot. And I mean, they're shooting solid, right? Like, that's Destiny's best part. Their shooting is solid. It's just all of the other stuff that has come in the past. And the sunsetting of things, the unsunsetting is great. I like the idea of that. And yeah, that's what I had read, Romulus, was that lore-wise, the Vex are basically always waiting to see who wins between the two. Oh.
Yeah, I think the Vex is probably... I wouldn't be surprised, because supposedly... Well, it's not supposedly. The last mission in the game is going to be after the raid, after you defeat the witness.
Right, that's what I heard.
So if they're going to tell you who, or even vaguely, remotely hint who's going to be the main bad guy, it would be that scene in some way, shape, or form. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like, you see someone from the, like, like someone high up on the Vex just randomly show up and be like, we couldn't beat the witness, so we let you beat him. Like,
well, what I'm excited for too was the new enemies. They have, like, finally biological flying enemies for the first time ever that use stasis to freeze you in place. And they can like subdue your powers by flying around and getting near you. Then there's the creature that when it dies, it sends like a what's it called? I think they call it not a wraith. It's not a wraith. They send something at you. There's a certain term for it.
Oversoul.
And you have to, like, take it out before it hits you. There's all kinds of stuff in the new factions. So I think that's also exciting. Have you ever? I mean, because at this point, who do you have in there? You've got the Vex. Who else? What's the other?
The Cabal, the Vex, the Fallen. They've never. The 9 is in the game, but they've never really established if the 9's good or bad. Really.
Oh, okay.
So the 9 is like Xur. Xur is part of the 9.
All right.
So I'm kind of curious if maybe they elaborate on that a little bit more. The Cabal, you teamed up with them, and the Fallen, they're kind of like everywhere. The Hive, I mean, you've been fighting the Hive the whole game.
Yeah, you've been hiding.
I highly doubt they're going to do the Hive, so it would be interesting.
Did you see the developer diary, the 21-minute one?
No.
Dude, it's awesome. I mean, there is a lot of very cool changes for that game, to the point to where a bunch of us installed it yesterday to play it. We're going to play it as a group.
I'll play with you. I'm playing it right now, actually.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, it's still going to be non-newbie friendly, I think, until 3, when they really jump in there and try to figure out how to get new people to jump in without all the shit. But they did talk about doing, they're doing a new economy system, which I think will be the big change. We'll have to see how that works. Everybody complains about economy systems in games because you're accustomed to something, even if it's finicky.
Yeah.
And when you get a new economy, you're like...
Wasteland 3, one of the
problem
best.
The problem was Destiny had like 6 currencies.
Right.
And they started, eliminating some of them, consolidating some of them. So we'll see.
Are you going to play this day one? When this update comes out?
Yeah, I'm actually... There's an event called Onslaught. That I'm doing that actually right now. Because what I do is I just like play random mindless stuff while I'm doing stuff. So, because I'm trying to get ready for the raid. Because unless they do something drastic for D3, I'm getting off the Destiny train after this expansion.
Oh damn! You're drawing a line in the sand, kind of thing.
Unless they do something drastic, I doubt I'll be coming back.
Damn, anybody in chat, are you guys leaving Destiny after this? Or are you excited for the changes, not excited for the changes? What about you, Abzy? Any desire whatsoever to do Destiny?
I don't know, man. My dad plays it a lot. That's pretty much it. I I've never had interest that much. But I might. I mean, I love raiding in general in games. I love boss mechanics a lot, and I heard Destiny has insane boss fights.
Yeah, it's
but
got
other
some of
than
the
that,
best raids I've ever played in games.
yeah, that's what I keep hearing. And even when Destiny 1 came out, like the top raiding guilds from WoW couldn't beat some boss or some shit. I kept hearing a lot about it. But yeah, probably, onboarding is going to be difficult. There's so many layered mechanics by now that like going in would be super overwhelming. So I don't know, maybe.
That's why I'm trying to touch it a little bit prior to see if, sort of
I've just
how much I
come
can
too
figure out.
far over 10 years. Even though I left the game like a year and a half ago, I can't bring it on myself to not be there at the very end for like of the light and darkness.
Dude, I think that's
saga.
fair. I think that's sort of a cool idea. No matter if you, it's like sort of wrapping it up, closing the cycle, and then, if something drastically changes in the new one, I think we'll see some adjusted systems in the new one. What were you going to say?
I still play the expansions when they come out, so I'm caught up besides like all the nitty gritty stuff that you have to do when you play this game.
Yeah.
Because there's like a lot of stuff that you have to constantly stay up to date with and get like the best exotics and the best roles. I don't have really none of that, but as far as like the story and expansion, I'm up to date on that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. We're just gonna really have to see how it all plays out. I just like their shooting, guys. Like their shooting is it's if there's anything that rocks, it's their shooting. It feels awesome despite any other issues that come up. I like that, and even when I don't even know what's going on half the time in that game, and I'm just shooting shit and it's exploding, the guns all feel unique. They feel cool. Their design, they nailed the design. Their gun design is like off the hook. It may not be realistic looking, but they're cool as shit looking. Like that's what matters is you feel like, oh,
even
man.
PvP is fun as hell in that game.
Yeah, PvP
honestly.
was one of the few PvPs other than Halo I was even really good at, like that I could actually do okay at, because usually I feel like it's just a wall of gunfire coming my way, and I can never get past that initial wall. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It looks like people here are just sort of taking a more. Well, no, some people are returning to it. Some haven't, left years ago. So there we go. Never played Destiny, thinking about getting into it. So I guess it's all over the place. When it comes to gaming, I feel like this is where we are now, where there isn't a consensus anymore. It's just we're far past that. As gaming grows, any kind of consensus becomes more and more difficult, and that's okay. That's okay, because we don't even in here have a consensus on Destiny. New thing I want to talk about was
play it with you guys though.
Yeah, the new thing I want to talk about is Sony leadership structure changed, and they have 2 CEOs. So this is odd. It's not that it's never been done before. It's just not as often done. One in charge of basically platforms, one in charge of the actual games. But they have replaced Jim Ryan with 2 CEOs at this time. And I personally, little bits that I've heard, have stated that the PSN debacle. So we talked about this. If you're a company and you have enough to, let's say, do 10 service games and only 3 will hit, you want to do well with those 3. That pays for the others, and it might pay for future games, especially in a $1 billion industry. I think you can tell that definitely PlayStation wished that they could have got people onto PSN and into Helldivers 2 in the way that they had attempted. And now we have Ghost of Tsushima saying, you need this and you can't buy it anymore and all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of this is to try to get one person looking at other nations and other countries and trying to figure out how to get those guys in. Because it's something that PlayStation just doesn't have. I mean, there's a lot of places and they sell well. Imagine how well they would sell if they were in as many places as they're missing. Microsoft and Nintendo obviously also missing. So the idea of having these 2 guys, maybe it's just too big of a company now where they feel like they need 2 for their divisions with the number of first-party teams they have and stuff like that. But it's odd. I looked it up. Not super successful, especially 2 CEOs that aren't friends. And I don't mean they don't like each other. What I mean is you'll hear about a company where 2 people built it up and then they become co-CEOs. That's a slightly different situation than this, where 2 were hired for. They're going to have the same level, but they'll be doing different things. So it'll be interesting to see if they do disagree. How I want to know if it's a fight club in there, and they both strip down to their underwear and they just battle it out, and whoever wins, wins that decision. But Sony's made some choices in the last couple weeks that have, I think, not indicated necessarily a problem with Sony, but just a change more largely when it comes to games, because connected to this, PlayStation has now stated that they've shifted more away from game sales reporting, which is something that definitely people have had an issue with Microsoft doing this, to playtime and engagement, the dreaded engagement word. And they stated that, especially at the starting of the PS4 and PS5, they found, especially with consoles not growing, the way that everybody has wanted, it's more about a person in your ecosystem, your PSN, your Xbox, Nintendo, whatever they do, Nintendo Unlive, whatever theirs is. But they're going to start reporting on that too. Do you guys think we'll see this from Nintendo?
No.
No?
I don't think Nintendo cares.
You just don't think
I think if anything, Nintendo looks what the other people do and say, "Oh, we ain't doing that." Like, it just feels like they're always doing something different than what everyone else is doing.
Contrarian, yeah. They're just like, if you say you like something, they're like, don't like it.
Now, as far as like the engagement thing, they might do that because that's more for investors than anything else.
You're right.
But like the two, like, I mean, maybe part of me feels like Sony did that because they want someone. I feel like there was like a power struggle, and they're like, I feel like there's a lot of stuff that went on during the Jim Ryan era that they're never going to make public, and they're trying to have like gates to make sure it never happens again. They're like, okay, he could take over this position, but we want his job being split, and we want someone we know and not necessarily trust, because I'm sure they trust. I can't remember his name.
But the people that they put in.
Yeah, they want someone that's close to home, like close to people that's in their inner circle. I think that's what it was. And then let's be real here, maybe, because Jim said a couple of times he was traveling a lot, like a ridiculous amount. Maybe these positions actually should have multiple people doing them, and they are overworking these people.
So that is absolutely true, because we've heard it from other CEOs that are left friendly, and of course he stayed around for a great deal of time, not a little unlike other CEOs from Sony, which are just like, I'm leaving as of today. He stayed around till March, right? Jim Ryan did, after they announced it. Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Glad he got out.
I like the idea of so I don't like the idea of two, because of where if two people have the exact same power. I've been in companies like that, and it can be rough as hell even getting small things done. But I do agree with you that maybe with all of the things and the switches to cloud and the switches to PSN wanting to be everywhere, and PC being such a big deal, that maybe they are looking and going, what should we do? I will say one weird thing in their announcement when they were talking about hardware. Guess what they didn't announce, or guess what they didn't talk about? The Portal. It was really sort of sad. They said,
forgot about that shit.
They said our investments and our successes, blah 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 blah, PSVR 2, blah blah blah, and didn't say anything about the other one. I was like, oh, interesting. There was no mention at all about the Portal. It wasn't in the. I did a search on the page. I did a search in their initial announcement. They announced everything. They mentioned all their other successes and nothing on the Portal, which I thought could have been a mistake. But they listed other stuff that was, you would assume it would have been there, but I don't know. I would say with Nintendo, we will see some changes. Personally, I don't think that's even me being positive. I think that if they're a generation behind, then the generation behind is still online more than Nintendo was with Switch. Does that make sense? So let's say they're a full gen behind on online. That would mean much more online focus.
And then you got to think the more some of these other people retire, they did their term. The people that replace them are going to be younger in general, and they're going to be more into trends that's going on.
Yep, absolutely. I think that is for sure one of the things that happens is they get, as the joke is, they get bred out. They just, people younger than them pop up. We see it with developers now, too, in some of these companies where developers will replace the old guard, and they have maybe our ideas. That's why I always hope that a developer can turn around, because I always hope that they'll hire somebody who hates the same things we do. And we'll jump in and be like, we don't need multiple sign-ins or what have you.
The funny thing is, I'm sure the younger people that's in executive positions or as high as it could possibly go up in Nintendo is, I'm sure when they go and meet him, like, dude, why don't we have any kind of online infrastructure? Like, are we ever going to address this? Like,
yeah. Well, and remember, I mean, Jack Trent was very open on the IGN Inside, which is one of the best podcasts. Everybody should listen to those podcasts. Ryan does a great job on IGN. And he did an interview with Jack and an interview with Sean, and they were both pretty clear that there is a lot of butting heads, and a lot of odd choices that seem like they would be theirs that weren't, and that kind of stuff. So I like the idea that they're open about that, at least after the interview. Anything else to add about Nintendo stuff? You guys saw the leaks. They look about what we expect for the Nintendo Switch. I think that's pretty much the exact power expectation I saw from the Switch. So we'll just have to see. Maybe a better network device. So am I. Yeah. I want to see what they do. I mean, last year they platinumed. They did well.
I really enjoy their games, and they've been rocking with Potato for the past 9 years. So, like, giving them even more power, I'm curious to see what kind of games they come up with.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be nice to see them not have... I don't know if you guys know about a game coming out. It's the Luigi's Mansion HD remake. Dude, I'm telling you, I'm excited to play it, but holy shit, is not a remaster. Sorry, it is barely. There are even like lower polygon models in some positions.
Luigi's 1 or 2?
Luigi's 2 Mansion.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should check there's some videos where they compare them, and you're like, damn, this is a potato they're working with.
What did Luigi's 2 come out on? Did it come out only on DS? Or did it actually... Because I only played one on GameCube.
They were comparing it to the DS version. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it only came out on DS. Okay, that makes sense. Because I never played it because I never owned a DS. But I loved the first one on GameCube.
Yeah. SBZ, $2 super chat. Nintendo's biggest enemy is themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're making
Does
money.
Nintendo have an enemy? I don't know. Maybe they
I think Nintendo is their worst enemy, but I do think Nintendo's best allies themselves as well, because their IPs literally carry that whole platform. Like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter what they do.
Their best allies are those content creators that cry when a Zelda trailer comes on. Yeah, that's their best.
I can't say much more about that because I dissed on that and then had one of the people on our
Super
podcast
Smash
didn't
Brothers
know.
character.
Yeah. I am excited to see the tech move forward, because that also means devs don't have to worry as much, and we see that. And I'm just gonna, here's my tinfoil hat. I said last week, I truly do wonder if the crackdown on emulators is because they want the Switch 2 to be backwards compat, and they don't want you to be able to emulate their games. And so they're trying to cut them down, because I don't know if you guys saw, they're even going towards the GitHub repositories, old GitHub repositories with other versions of the emulators on it. Like, they're atomic bombing the emulator right now. And I was all, it took them this long? Like we joked around, is there a secretary who's like, hey, have you guys ever heard of an emulator? And Nintendo's like, what? That's possible. But come on. I think we all know that's not what's going on. It just feels a little bit like, there's a chance that they're trying to get things situated and curbed prior to this big change. Moving on from there, moving on from business news and things like that, I did want to talk about XCOM's Jake Solomon. This is a guy who did XCOM. Then he jumped to Midnight's. Go ahead.
We interviewed him. That's why I was shameless plug.
Oh, that's all right. No, that's all right. On the Iron Lords podcast?
Mm-hmm.
So he jumped to a different studio, got some Firaxis people as well, and he's making what would almost be like a Sims game, I guess, in the term, but it's about relationships and love. And it's funny because he was asked what he thought went wrong with Midnight Suns, and he keeps bringing up the card system. And I got to tell you, at least to me, that was not what my problem with the game was. Repetitive combat, super small locations, blah, blah, blah. But also the odd relationships. But when he talked in this interview, and it's on VGC, Video Game Chronicle, he actually says while he was making Midnight Suns, even since the very start, he was thinking of this future game based around love and stuff. And I was wondering, is that why you had so many weird conversations in Midnight Suns in your underwear at the pool? Like, was he channeling his thoughts of wanting to make characters more engaged with one another in the story somehow leaking into Midnight Suns, because I don't know if you guys played a lot of Midnight Suns, but that game has some really odd gameplay ideas. And you're sitting there doing a book reading club with Blade. Now, if that doesn't sound like The Sims, I don't know what does. But it doesn't sound like a Marvel superhero XCOM game. That sounds...
You're trying to put too much social aspects in the game.
Right. And so reading this about it, it fits. It actually does fit, because he was very open about during his making of Midnight Suns. He was like, oh, you know what? I think I sort of wanted to do this and that. And I can actually see, to me, it sort of feels like that checks out. You know, did you ever play Midnight Suns, Abzy?
No, I got it in I got it way later in a Humble Bundle, but I never installed it or anything.
Oh, gotcha.
I saw clips of it though, of the infamous like Blade stuff and whatnot. It's just like horrible. But I'm not like a huge Marvel guy, but I might try it someday.
All right. While Lord Addict gets up to take care of something, I do want to say, if you guys get a chance, please open up this video on the side and give it a thumbs up or leave a comment right now. It hugely helps the podcast instead of just doing chat, but it is very helpful when you open it up. Yeah, so Midnight Suns, it missed in a lot of ways. It didn't get the greatest reviews. It had a lot of ideas that never really came together, and I can see why when he's talking this profoundly about thinking about it throughout all of Midnight Suns. I get it now. I sort of understand where he was going. It also had weird DLC. I don't know if you remember that, but it had like weird superheroes that would come in later, and you'd be like, the superhero isn't a part of the team because they're later in these seasons. It felt sort of tacked on. Mm-hmm. But you do see that sometimes with a dev who will try something in the initial game, and then they'll go off on their own, and they'll sort of take some of that, and they'll build their own game. I'm not super interested in this new one, but go ahead.
I ain't gonna lie, this is one of the times I'm ashamed of it, but I was hating on Marvel. I was hating on Marvel Suns just because it wasn't an XCOM 3 or it wasn't Marvel with the XCOM system, because that's what I wanted from them. Now, obviously, I've been told by a lot of people, my friend Tyler really likes it. Carl pretty much has his own every Monday night fan club about the game. Like, a lot of people enjoyed the aspects of it. Carl did not like the the Blade and his underwear stuff either. Yeah. So
love the game's $2 super chat said Midnight Suns had nightmare video compression. I love that he brings this up in every podcast or in every chat. He's got a hard on for bad video compression, man. But he is right. That game was rough. It had some issues. Yeah, I mean, we've seen I've seen people like Outriders, such as life. Like, you're always going to have people liking something, but it didn't do well for them. He moved on, and what he's doing now seems like it's more his fit. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is I like the idea of a dev being open that they're not just concentrating on one project. They're, some people I think that they're, and some people do, they concentrate on one, but I like the idea that he's a director and a producer and he's thinking about a lot of different ideas. A little bit like you'll hear some directors of movies where they were making one, but they're still, they're writing something else as well, and they're multitasking. Were you going to add something, Ramsey? I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, go ahead.
What I like about him is he's very big on the accountability. Like, if he feels like, certain decisions he made might have affected the game itself, like, he's not going to put that blame on other people. I really enjoy that of him, because I feel like a lot of especially, publishers and developers these days, they got like zero accountability, like, at all. But he's like one of the most down to earth people that we've ever interviewed.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you'll hear these weird comments like, oh, it must be this, it must have been that. I mean, he did blame the cards, which I personally, at least from even the people I know who liked it, people I know who didn't like it, haven't really been all about the cards being the problem. So that might be a focus of him sort of thinking that was their one problem. I don't think that was the problem, but yeah, he's really open about it.
I think the cards was a problem with people that wanted XCOM style gameplay from a Marvel game. Because a lot of people, and then when you see something like cards, let's be honest, what's the first thing you associate that with? Oh, this is some mobile stuff. It might not necessarily be. It's the most high productive mobile stuff I've ever seen, but it was a solid experience. I played like I think I fought Venom like at the very beginning of the game, like maybe an hour and a half into it. It just wasn't clicking to me. Like COG has convinced me to go back and try it because I have like the deluxe edition too, so like I have all the expansions and stuff. So I think I am going to go back and try it because I do feel, you know, because I love XCOM so much and that's the developer that made it, I at least should give that game another chance. What I want is the damn XCOM 3. That's what I want.
I don't think it's happening.
Yeah.
Not at least not in the form that we think. Yeah.
Just got to mod XCOM 2 or The Chosen with overhaul mods or something.
Yeah.
It's our only option.
I'm just sitting back saying I don't think that's gonna happen, but I would be all for. I mean, I don't necessarily think he's required anymore either, if that makes sense. I think that the people who made XCOM, there's still people there. And XCOM, the idea of what you're doing in an XCOM is possible because we've seen other developers get close. They haven't nailed it. They've got close. And
yeah,
XCOM
I really enjoyed
has a
Massive
good number
Chalice.
of copies. Massive Chalice. Oh wow, that's sort of a blast from the past for me, man.
Yeah, I like the
Xbox
unique
One,
way.
I think.
The unique way they did like management in that game. Like people dying from old age, and you have to like breed people a certain way, and you have to constantly keep people up. Like I like that. So I like the concepts that they brought with the XCOM franchise. But you know, at the same time, it's like, man, you know, these are the
goats.
The goats, man. And I don't know who's like leading their primary team right now. I don't know if it's because we had two people from Firaxis on ILP. We had his second in command, the one that came out with Chimera Squad. I don't know if he took over the position or they brought someone else from a third party. But I would be very curious what they make in general next.
Yeah, I liked Chimera Squad. Not as much as an XCOM, but I liked it for what it was. I was pretty solid with it. Moving on from there, I did want to talk a little bit about so Heartland was canceled, right? The Assassin's Creed Heartland thing that's what it was called, Heartland. Division Heartland, yeah. So that was fully canceled, and I was looking at Ubisoft and their cancellations. They're definitely consolidating even more so than I was initially assuming, because I was not aware that it sounds like they're asking the other developers who are not using their two main, Anvil and Snowdrop, right? Snowflake? No, Snowflake. Snowflake. Snowdrop. They're asking other devs within Ubisoft to start looking at using those, which I think I'm okay with. You know, overall, they do have a lot of engines. They've got 6 if you include Beyond Good and Evil, supposedly. So, yeah, cutting that down. But I was looking at their
that game.
I was looking at their cancellations, and it's been 4 in the last year, including the one I wanted, which was that Immortals Phoenix Rising 2 was canceled.
Oh man, I hate that got canceled.
Project Q, which no one knows exactly what that was canceled. I mean,
Sounds like a racing game.
I think I know what it was.
Was it not? Okay, it sounds like a racing game in my head, like Project Q, but maybe not. Maybe a robot game.
I get that. Usually their project names don't, reflect anything. But I do like the idea of it being another one because remember, they did Steep and Riders Republic, who have a lot of overlap in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's a an advanced pool game, shooting pool. Yeah, using VR. That's the other thing I wanted to point out. With the poor sales of the VR Assassin's Creed, they stated, a while ago that they're not advancing VR investment either. So they're definitely pulling back. And then we saw Square announce this week, or was it maybe end of last week, that they are going away completely from exclusivity. And Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy Rebirth, and one other one, I can't remember what the other one was, were all underperformers. And they've decided that to just fully embrace non-exclusivity. And I think in a way that helps them. It helps everybody. What were you going to say?
Is X Defiant Ubisoft?
It is.
Yeah. Okay, because that's coming out, and I heard they're not gonna have skill-based matchmaking.
They are not having skill-based matchmaking. Yeah, isn't that weird?
Do players like that or not? I'm so confused on people's stances because I heard they hate it. I heard they liked it.
I hear most people don't like it. I don't know.
I think people don't mind skill-based matchmaking as long as it's not like the only thing you can do. There's like a social playlist where they just put everyone in one pool. That's one thing. Yeah. I do think that ranked needs to be skill-based matchmaking in every game. because there's no reason you should be jumping in there, brand new player jumping in there with a 12-year-old vet that gonna get your ass beat. Like,
and just arbitrarily raise up their, what do you call it?
I'm not against it if they do, like in the casual playlists, if they do kind of they use it to average out players, like have like a couple really good people, have a couple Timmies, and have a couple, you know what I mean? Average players, maybe, to balance it out. I have no idea. I love just randomness. So I'm totally on board for no skill-based matchmaking. Like, I love just going in and just not knowing what to expect usually in games.
So let's say Sweats, they hate skill-based matchmaking. Casuals like it. Sweats don't like it because they're facing other Sweats.
Yeah. For sure.
Fucking slang is absolutely stupid. Anyway, it took me a while to realize why the fuck he's talking about being sweaty, and then I was like, oh god, it's 14-year-old's language again. I would say that when we look at this, I wanted to jump to the Square thing, though, but if we finish the matchmaking, just okay. Back real quick, back to Square. I do think that that's a positive because, you know, you're looking at PC titles not being, let's say, held back. It sounds like it's going to be across all, and they also stated, as well as two other companies are going to announce within the next 2 or 3 months, but we've already got hints from them, that they're all making for Switch day and date, Switch 2 day and date. So you're gonna see the title be available on so many platforms. And yes, it's gonna be harder on them because they don't have one platform. That does increase their the difficulty. But I'm all for it, man. I'm all I think Rebirth is a far better game than Remake, and I liked Remake. Yeah. But I think Rebirth has more going on. Rebirth is more enjoyable. It's got overall better combat and it's certainly a better world because it is a world. Nothing against Remake because they were doing that on purpose. But to me, the idea of more people being able to jump in on the third one, which it does sound, I'm assuming the third one will still be placed. Maybe it's an old contract. I don't know. But I like the idea of them just releasing on everything. Do I want to see another Forspoken? No, I do not. But the other titles, I would love to see whatever they do. Just be on everything, If you want to play it on Switch too, go ahead. That kind of stuff excites me. I would like to see it. Moving on. Oh, anybody in chat, if you have any complaints or ideas on why you don't like the lack of console exclusivity, give me a heads up. And people, leave them alone. I'm asking for it. It's okay to think that. Jesus Christ, we're always going to have somebody mad. And then moving on from there, let's discuss a little bit. We just got somebody who got banned from EA. Here's what it says. You were banned for using a lewd mod in a single-player game. You can no longer play EA. This is one of our Discord fans. You can no longer play EA games on this account. We've removed your payment details from our system, so you won't get any more charges from us. I was not aware they banned people for using single-player mods. But
that's stupid. I don't know.
I agree. I don't think you should be penalized for because you're not affecting no one's experience. I can understand if it was more than the nude stuff, like we're talking about, like stuff I don't really want to say on the podcast. Like, okay, then that's one thing. But it's like, to me, if you're just making some nude mods or some dudes and chicks but you're just doing it from the comfort of your own home and you're not bothering no one, I don't get why they should care.
How did they find out though? Like it's a different story if the guy was
somebody wanted us
releasing
to talk
content, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't really know. This is sort of the difficulty we're running into with the single player games. Where single player are connected, that they take ownership of your single player account in that way. Because you're signing in all the time. So, yeah, some people are saying that they thought it was fake, but then I was looking up online, and it actually does look like this has happened before. So, I haven't seen it before. It just popped up from somebody in our chat. So, yeah, here's the problem with single player, always online. Those two things should just never be a thing. Ever.
Yes.
Right?
Ever.
And so it's like the moment they are a thing, this can happen. Let's say it's on mistake or it's on accident. That is an accident or a mistake that you don't have to fight because It would not happen. So the idea that you can't, and somebody's just going to crack it, right? You'll get a crack for it, and so now you're just you're sort of pushing people to the one thing that maybe you don't want to push them towards. I don't know. Yeah, it's just interesting. What would you do if we start getting banned or in trouble for modding single-player games is also the add-on question. I mean, you'll see a lot of videos from me. If that becomes a thing and we start seeing it more, I know I've definitely seen it pop up in the past. I just don't know what company has been doing it. Rockstar probably does. Well,
yeah,
No.
Rockstar has had a habit of doing it. They've done it in the past.
They've done it to VR. They haven't done it for a lot of online mods though, and like their whole RP stuff. So I don't know what mods they
that's why I'm
banned or
so
not.
confused by this. Like, what you get one thing that's going to be okay, and really what all it comes down to is it's like the PSN thing. Oh, you can use a VPN, but it's directly against our services, agreement or whatever. And you're just sitting there going, so am I could you be clear on this? The idea of an always online single player game has tons of problems, and that's one of them. Hopefully we don't see a bunch of this. Some people are saying they saw it. Some people are saying, yeah, no. Other people are saying they've seen it happen as well. So I don't know. It just popped up, and I wanted to talk about it. Always online it sucks. I'll still play the game. I'll still like the game, but it just adds 10 more caveats to a game that you're playing. What if you do an alternate start mod, or I don't know. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I think there's a lot of issues when it comes to like digital media and like entirely. I know like people have been having issues with companies being able to like, if they catch you using like aim bots or stuff, they just block you from the whole thing entirely. It doesn't matter if it was single player or multiplayer. Like you can be on a service that you're caught hacking or whatever. Let's say like just an aimbot or something, and then they ban you from the server itself, and you put thousands of dollars into other games. Like, do you guys think that's right, or you should just get banned from the one game that you got caught, doing stuff that you shouldn't have been doing? And
I don't think you should be banned at all unless you were online with it. I mean,
no. What it is some people are being caught online hacking, like in multiplayer games.
They just don't play.
You mean they're playing? Like, if they're banned, I don't want them banned from all their money. They should I don't know how to do that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, okay,
no cheaters. I have no.
But here's the thing: like,
PvP
regardless
games?
if we don't do it, if you put $1,000 into other games on the Ubisoft store and you get caught cheating on Rainbow Six Siege, should you lose access to your other games that had nothing to do with Rainbow Six Siege?
Yes, they should. Be punished,
I don't know.
I don't feel anything towards those people. They destroy games. They destroy communities. Like FPS games have been going. The biggest problem they've been facing is cheaters, and these guys just pay a lot of money and always adapt and always cheat. And I just have.
But there's been a lot of people throughout the years
sympathy
that got manually banned for stuff, and it was proven that they didn't do it. So if we're 100% like dropping the ban hammer on anything, no questions asked, no remorse.
No, they have to have enough evidence for sure. They have to have.
I just feel like.
Let me tell you something that has happened. No, this is, it's not game related, but it's close. But the podcast, dude, we have been dinged on this podcast so many times for something I cannot find. And iTunes will just delete the entire, or not iTunes, sorry, Anchor / Spotify. About once every 2 months, about 6 months ago, they were banning me every 4 days. They would say, oh, we're sorry, it's wrong. They'd put me back up, and then the auto system at 7 a.m. would ban me, and they'd be like, you can't fight this. And I'll be like, fuck you, I am fighting it. There's absolutely nothing we've ever said or anything that would ever be worth a ban. And they kept saying, you're right. You're right. And about the 5th time I said, I'm leaving. Like, this makes no sense, and it makes me. The big thing that bothered me is it made me look bad. Like, it doesn't matter, even if it got restored, I'd be like, well, it's obviously not a problem. They keep restoring me. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? They're doing it when we release a video. We're not getting a bunch of views, blah, blah, blah. And that has directly hurt the channel. Now, even though that's not directly assignable to this, the fact that somebody is getting banned falsely, and we are starting to see the company saying no remorse, that does bother me because, guys, like, that shit, when you just say there's no fight back, it's like, okay, wait a minute, because that just means they're basically saying if we arbitrarily choose and it could be wrong. I've been on the side of it being wrong now half a dozen fucking times, to where it's cost me thousands to switch the service. So, you know, I get where you're coming from, but...
Sure, but if without a shadow of a doubt a cheater was cheating, they should be like marked as a cheater, like a sex offender or whatever. And then every single online game they play, they should be put in their own server, like a special server for every game they play, where only cheaters.
They do that on
we've seen that.
GTA.
On GTA, isn't it on GTA where people were finding themselves in a weird server and found out it was all cheaters? And I was like, dude, that's belligerent shit. That's great. Or Fade for the old Arma games, which people would try to crack it, and they think it was cracked, and it would slowly alter the math on gunshots until you would get a bullet going sky high, but everything else would go normal. So you'd be like, that's weird. And it would appear to be cracked. It would be like, oh, this game's cracked. It works with no CD. And this was a huge deal. It was a very good, it was one of my favorite copy protections, because I was like, I love it. Somebody's playing and you hear them start to bitch. This bullet went sideways and you're like, but
that's cool.
I agree too. If you get caught and there's somehow of saying, listen, we've got all your, on the other hand, that means you're also saying all your telemetry and footage has to be able to be captured. That's another thing. Meaning that a person who doesn't cheat has to agree that their stuff will be tracked, so that they can also be
that's the big
safe.
Problem.
That's the big problem, because then you're also saying I have to be watched because you're a cheater. You know, like
you need invasive anti-cheat to actually like be super effective, which is, you know, I hate downloading the Riot client one. I don't play League anymore because of the whatever they have, because it just like I just feel like it fucks with my PC in some way. You know, is that weird? So I just don't bother installing it.
Like I told you, Easy Anti-Cheat definitely does fuck with mine, to the point to where now I'll do the GeForce Now version, because I know it works on their blades. So I was playing a game and it popped up on my PC and wouldn't start, and I just was like, going to GeForce, and it worked. And I was like, all right, whatever. You know, I have no clue what's going on my PC. I don't have anything on here that would even be close to that, and yet they still will just, sometimes it won't launch. It'll never be like you're cheating. It'll just close. I'll be like, what the fuck? You know? But dude, seriously, if they can prove it, you're gone. Now, when it comes to all your money, so let's say, I don't know, if somebody let's say somebody has $2,000 worth of Sims 4 add-ons. First of all, you're nuts, but whatever. Let's say they do. Let's say them, and then they decide to use whatever, an aimbot, you know, or something like that in there. I don't know, man, because that's pretty harsh. That's pretty. It is harsh, and we should have harshness, but it should also. You know what? You could do a tier thing. Hey, if you go online and you're playing, you know, in the training area and you're using it, that's one thing. If you go into a ranked match, you know what? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of hammering down, but I've been now caught on the ban hammer for something.
Dude, you know cheaters tend to have also a lot of money. It seems like it, especially cheat makers, and they buy the $250 Tarkov editions. Like, all the cheaters bought that shit. That's and they get their accounts banned. They don't care. They buy it again. Because they do usually they do RMT.
Right? They're not what we're talking about, probably.
Usually they're RMT people who sell stuff in games and make money off of it, you know.
I think that, you know, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, everyone should come together. And it's, if you're caught in cheating in one game, like, definite, like, hand to God, especially if you're buying third-party software to cheat, you should get banned from everything. Like, in terms of online infrastructure, you can still play your single-player games, but if you're caught doing one-in-one, your chances are you'll probably try to do it in another game. And
you know
I
what
think
they could do too? They could do something. Sorry, Lord. I was just going to say they could probably do something where they figure out your firewall data and they turn off the multiplayer signal to your client, so you can still play the games, but you just nothing online works on that account.
Because the only thing I disagree with is, even if you're caught like cheating, I don't think you should lose access to like single player games that you bought from platforms. I don't think you should be allowed to even step into a game that has an online infrastructure. But as far as like saying, look, no, they're losing access to everything they've ever bought.
Every single title on their entire account.
Oh, that's fucked up, man.
And what I'm saying is, if that's what I was saying, if you
fuck them still.
Yeah, well, I know the thought process, but the problem is we all know how this will happen. It will happen. We'll have someone in our Discord, and they'll say they were innocent, whatever. I'll say I'm innocent. You have to show proof, but at some point you are sitting there, and this is what Sony's return system, the reason why their return system sucks balls. Because once you start returning anything to Sony, they just immediately are like, you're banned. You can't return. And you're just sitting there going, what are you talking about? Like, because some jackass over there. And
I got banned from Fortnite, and
Steam,
I never played that game.
I guess Steam
See right there, you're done. You're done. Everything's gone.
I swear to God, I can't even play.
Steam sends you warnings if you ask for a certain number of returns, even if those returns are within the allotted time they've given you. They're like, you might be misusing it. It's like misusing it. It says 2 hours, and I've got an hour and a half in 15 games, and I say that your return. What are you talking about? That's your system that you built into it. Like, that's not on the single player to count their fucking returns after 5 years. And the longer it goes, the more returns you'll have de facto by just the longer time you'll be using the infrastructure. So that kind of stuff bothers me too. They're all wrong. None of them are right. None of them are perfect. But we need to figure out how to fucking hammer the absolute truthers, who are 100%, that dude cheated.
The source, they need to come down on the source.
And then figure out from there how to almost tier. What if you set, a couple months, VAC ban was the thing on Steam for a while, right? Wasn't it called VAC banning?
Yeah, VAC banning is like even I rented a V Rising server, and even in the setting, I can choose not to allow VAC players that have been VAC banned before.
Really?
Yeah.
So you can just
it's a setting.
You have no power here. That's interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah. It's an awesome discussion to have, but I think we're already behind on a couple companies, and that does worry me, because we did have somebody yesterday tell me he had returned No Rest for the Wicked, and he got an email saying, this last return puts you above some allotted magical amount, and he's returned games in 15 minutes. So it's like, what are you talking about? I mean, that doesn't seem to, if you're saying 2 hours, it's 2 fucking hours. That's on you guys. That's on the company. But it should be better.
They should be more clear on because clearly what they tell us in terms of guidelines isn't what's being done in practice.
Yeah. I mean, that's like having a rule for 3 tardies at work, and they get 1, and you're like, if you get another one, you're like, no, it's 3.
You're on probation already, bitch.
You're already, you're like, what the fuck does the number mean? Numbers are supposed to be sort of, universally translated.
It's a guideline.
I just find it interesting. Let's see. And then the big thing, the big other thing is 2 big patches. The first one we'll talk about is Starfield. Starfield's patch is out, and that it basically allows for different frame rates on the console, different settings. It does the 3D maps on the ground, on the planet surface, changes mini-maps, allows for you to pinpoint the locations when you're in the cities, all that kind of stuff, which looks a little messy. I don't know if you guys saw the video of that.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But there's a lot. They're big cities. They're not small, especially like Atlantis, and there's a lot of places to go, and you hit that button, and it was like, boom.
Did you also see?
I'm assuming there's a filter. Go ahead.
They had a bunch of like long-term Bethesda modders in their HQ. I just saw like pictures of like Todd Howard talking to a bunch of well-known modders in the community, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think they're trying to get that, like trying to foster a little bit more community around it now, and try to figure out how to move forward, because they do want to move forward. If it's not stopping, regardless of the haters.
I think there's an issue where I love the idea. I hear me out. I love the idea of the what is it called? The
Creation Club?
The Creation Club, where you pay for mods, because I like the idea of compensating the actual modders, like hiring for something. But a lot of players hate that, because it's like, what, we have to pay for mods now? But at the same time, it shouldn't just be skins and shit. I feel like they should make like substantial, cool expansions that work well with the game, and curate them, and that way the modders can get compensated.
I feel like too, real quick, I just want to ask, and then he'll clarify, and then you go. I just want to say, wasn't the other complaint though that Bethesda was taking a big chunk?
I have no idea about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like for the modder obviously to take 90%, or a lot, like the biggest chunk.
Yeah,
but,
I actually feel like Bethesda should get on like little to nothing from that transaction, because one, it benefits them more than it benefits the modder. They might get some money, but Bethesda's, their games getting more shelf time. And I can understand, maybe charge like a 5 to 10%, because it does cost money to maintain the creation engine.
Yeah.
So, and stuff like that. So I can understand that, but if they're trying to get like 30%, that's wild.
Yeah, that's Steam numbers right there. I mean, and that's wild to me. Yeah, I would agree. 5%, cover your server costs. We saw Nexus Files have talked about their premium and how big they got hit when Fallout 4 became big. You guys saw that post where they were saying that their servers got absolutely hammered because of how popular the downloads were becoming in the mods. So,
and maybe a margin.
Go ahead.
Sorry, for the developers that are making sure the mod works
That's
well and
exactly
optimized
what I was
for the
just
game.
going to bring up. Yeah, that is exactly, because you got to make sure it's like patched for the next thing, and that you don't have font going off the side, just the little things there. But yeah, I love the idea of paying. So I pay Pure Dark, who mods a lot of games. I'm not super happy. I'm just being honest. I'm not super happy with the pay structure sometimes for those mods and how it works. But regardless, I do pay, because I like some of their lighting mods. Some of he added DLSS 3 to Valhalla, which is it's insane. Like, I mean, insane what you can do on that. And so I like those things. And I feel that person is programming flawless. What do you call it? The one I was always talk about, the lossless gen. Yeah. The ability for that guy. He's programming something. He deserves his money. I think it's awesome to pay the modders money, because some modders can go to File Nexus, which, by the way, will cost you $5 for server hosting anyway. If you want to download multiple ones, you're going to have a problem if you don't pay. I want, as long as the modders are getting money, I'm actually happy. And I agree with you. Maybe there should be some kind of check to be like, yeah, well, that's an effort check, though, right? Like, I don't know if we should charge some, like, say you can't charge if it appears you didn't put effort in. I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry, Lord Attic, what were you saying?
I feel like if someone, it's Steam mainly, because Steam's like the biggest person on the PC portion. If they come up with a good system to like pay modders, or to have some kind of monetization thing when it comes to mods, I feel like the shelf life on games would dramatically increase if people can make a living off making mods.
You're saying you think even more demand would be there if they get paid, because they will get paid.
If they knew they could make a decent amount doing it.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the way the free market works, and it should work. Especially if somebody's alternate start as a mod, I have in every Beth game, regardless. Like, that's one of the first ones I download, and I'll probably put it on everything. I do think that if that guy said, I want $5 for this, or what have you, if it was in the Creation Club and all that stuff, I would have no issue, because it is a genuine improvement or a genuine game changer to me in the fiction and how I feel about the game. I love that kind of thing. And if he can make money from that, I'm very happy. Love the games. $2 Super Chat says, Resident Evil 1 Remake inbound, evidently. Can't 100% confirm. Thought we already knew that was coming. Okay.
Yeah, that was leaked a while back.
So I asked everybody what they thought about mods and paying. Let's see. Pay the mods. Tatum says, just pay them. I'm okay with tipping modders for good mods. If they get paid for mods, the modders would have to kick up to the developer of the game. Oh, I see. Yeah, we've talked about that before. Does a modder, does somebody else get a little bit of kick up, almost like reselling your console? It appears we've reached an impasse. We're just going to have to agree to they're talking about exclusivity. Let's see. It would be difficult to see mods move to a paid culture. The reaction to Bethesda introducing paid mods had major backlash. It did. And by the way, major backlash means nothing. That's the one thing I've noticed, man. Major backlash is not, if it's not a part of the main game, they'll figure out a way to worm it in. And we're seeing that, by the way, because if you guys remember back in the day when the old Xbox One came out and they were like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and there was backlash, they did change that. Where are we now? Pretty much right there. Like, it just took longer, but we still got there, man. I love the idea. I don't know what you would do. What if you could do that? Have you guys ever seen the websites where it says, do you want to tip? And you choose to, and then it just gives you an empty amount. Some people will enter 1 cent. Some people will enter $5. I would be okay with that too. Where it's like, itch.io does that. I don't know if you guys have ever used itch.io, but when you go to itch.io and you buy something, many of the creators will say, pay what you want. And you go in, it opens up, and I got to tell you guys, I like that, because this is honest, I become more generous. So if somebody says $5, sometimes I'll look and go, that's a 3-page RPG. Let me look at it. But if somebody says pay what you want, a lot of times I'll put in $5. I'll be all, hey, that's cool. What were you gonna say?
I don't know how well it would work from like like the consumer to the modder, how would you feel? And I don't know if this is even possible. Let's say Starfield, a creator like Bethesda makes some kind of portal where it's like you could submit your work to Bethesda, they'll publish it, pay you up front for it, and then you'll like maybe 30 to Bethesda, 70% to you when it's actually published. Where like Bethesda is officially like initially buying your work from you, but you do get paid for it. Because I feel like the only way it truly works is if the actual people making the game approve it. Because at that point, I feel like people are saying this game is worth enough that the developers are willing to co-sign it.
I don't think that would work for me unless it was in addition to, because CBB, you know, the big butts mods are insanely popular, and I bet you Bethesda would probably not buy that mod. And I don't want that guy to not get paid. That doesn't make any sense to me. And there's a lot of stuff that I bet you in the social media right now. For example, I added dresses to the women in Starfield, and they're not in there. It's one of the things you notice when you play Starfield. Everybody's wearing some coveralls. It's a very odd, and I only noticed this after playing for a long time, going, why is it that it's like everybody's got this sort of generic kind of you really couldn't make clothing that looked like it was fitting the person even. And so I downloaded that mod, and I don't know if the social zeitgeist would be like, hey, we're adding dresses to this game. Oh, well, we can't
I feel
do
you,
that.
but at the same time, I do feel like if the environment changed in general and these companies took like these more seriously, it might open up more, you know, willingness to work with modders and stuff to get these things.
Do both. That's what it sounds like Bethesda's doing right now with Starfield.
I guess I feel like the scene we have now is good for people, but I do feel like every time, especially Steam tries to like, okay, you know, if the creators are willing to, if they want to sell their stuff, I feel like the backlash is so hard that Steam automatically backrolls it. But I feel like if the actual developers and publishers of the games do it on their end, there would be less like attacking for it.
LD Tatum says something, and this is sort of my belief. He says, we tip streamers just to watch them talk or play games. Why can't a modder objectively contribute more to an actual game and get some cash? That's the way
I 100% agree with you, but
yeah.
you know, how long did it take for like the streaming scene and stuff to get to the degree where people don't call you an e-beggar if you turn your super chats and stuff on? You know,
they still do.
Like, you get what I'm saying though. It was years and years and years of, I wouldn't say like nurturing, but it was like years of building that kind of community before.
But that's why I'm saying, if you build
accepted.
a front end and you say Bethesda's already buying mods, we know that they're already paying some of the bigger mod makers. I don't see an issue with having both sets, both types. You have ones that are certified by Bethesda to not break their game. And by the way, guys, maybe Bethesda states these will not be broken by our patches. As in, we are taking the data into our system that they have programmed into these mods, and we guarantee that on the next patch, we will make sure that these particular mods, may not be a bunch of them. Imagine that shit. Imagine alternate start or some texture patch that fixes Bethesda's fucking rotten
with
ass
the game, you know what I mean?
Yes, and they just say, okay, we're going to make sure of all these things, we're going to make sure that this doesn't fucking break. Because what happened with Fallout? They patched it and tried to improve it, and it broke a bunch of shit. I'm not saying this would have been fixed. I'm saying in the future it would be nice if they said, these are your certified mods, certified by us. We will take them into account at the very minimum to put them on our boss list or whatever they're using now for leveled lists. I think that would be awesome. I agree that, yes, I would love for Bethesda to also have enough people to look at all these mods, but I don't know how much manpower that requires.
Yeah, it would be nice to have
it would take a lot. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying for that particular scenario. Bethesda's going to have to take like more than that 5-10. It's going to be up to like 30 or even 50-50 if it works to that degree. Like,
yeah, if they do
because
that,
that's they're going to have to hire a whole damn department to keep up with that.
Can you
shit.
imagine trying to track all those mods? Oh, go ahead, Absy. What were you adding to?
No, I was just saying, yeah, to take into consideration which mods would be added to that pool, it would be cool to have like a either go on Nexus and go on the most downloaded or most endorsed and just like pick all the, you know, front like 3 pages, or have a voting system of what they think people think should be included in the game, you know, just within the game itself.
I'm telling you guys straight up, if I were Microsoft, I would be figuring out a way to put some money down into having Bethesda and other mod companies that allow mods in their games to figure out a front end for every game. I want to play Forza and have a mod page and be able to just be like, boom, I want to play Halo. Halo's sort of almost got its own mod system, all the stuff you can change, but like Unreal had mutators. I think that should be awesome, man. And it would be a differentiator in the game. I can jump into this one, but this one's got mods. I mean, how many times have you heard somebody say, I'm buying a PC, and you say, why? And they say mods. Like, it's quite often. It's a big deal.
That's that's the reason I switched to PC gaming back in 2013 or whatever.
Is it? Well, dude, I still remember
mods.
Adding mods to one of the Fallout games, which, let's be honest, cottage cheese fucking textures, right? Most of the time. And the textures look better, were sharper, had more detail, and were in half of how big they were from the. And I was like, how in the hell did we end up here? And by the way,
4K textures plus perform
4K
better.
4K textures on a like a 2 gigabyte or sorry, a 2 megabyte fucking video card or whatever. And you're like, why would you ever think that would work? And then a modder's like, oh, we can make it look twice as good and be half the memory. Now people say, why isn't that fixed? There's a ton of reasons why that isn't fixed. I get why sometimes it happens, but I think Bethesda, I think I've got a bone to pick on that. I think we could win that argument. I don't exactly know why that happens, but it seems to happen a lot where you get over. It's not future-proofing either because they don't look good. You know how we've talked about future-proofing your ultra setting? It's not ultra setting. That's like, it looks low. You look at it and you're like, you're not future-proofing for a better video card. You just have a giant, massive texture. It looks like cottage cheese and shit whipped together. Like it never. Whoa, what was that? That sounded. Was that Castlevania?
No, that was Zelda.
Zelda. Sorry, I got that wrong.
That's my my general ringtone.
Yeah.
Like notification
ringtone. Zombie says, I see modding as a labor of love. Tipping works, or if it's a large-scale mod, the modders can charge. It should remain separate from corpos. Oh, so you don't want them to pay them? Yeah, I can see where that comes from. I think in the end, got to figure it out somehow. I don't know.
But
it's a big deal.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like if
let Absy go. Let Absy go real quick.
Okay.
Sorry, I was just saying. I don't know, man. I don't really necessarily agree with like, oh, big corpo, little guy, or whatever the hell. I feel like there could be a way to generate a cool little economy system where essentially the modders would be work at home Bethesda employees or not Bethesda or like contract
mini
workers
contracts
or something.
Almost.
Something like that, and maybe not even charge people for mods. Maybe just integrate them into the game and just pay the modders. Like, there's a lot of ways where this could be really, really cool. I haven't thought about it too much to really
well, I'm not asking any. Yeah, we shouldn't be trying to draw up a Venn diagram and get it all perfect because I'm sure everything I say there's 10. That's for smarter or people whose job that is who know the ins and outs. But I do think it's something everybody should be looking towards because it does feel like, let's say they continue the route they're going, which is that the new consoles will be somewhat closer to PC again. Just again, I'm not saying they're like you and I talk about modular. Let's say it's just the consoles again. We're already close enough that I think that a lot of people question why only Bethesda has a couple games with support and no one else has mods at all.
Yeah, no one else does have that kind of support for some reason.
Creation Engine gets its share of hate, but there's two things: memory pointers and fucking for the interactive objects, and then mods.
Yeah, I mean, I was over the moon when I heard the Rockstar hired the 5M people. Like, I love that type of shit, man.
The roleplay guys.
Yeah.
And they paid $10,000 for the guy who fixed the loading bug.
That's awesome.
Have you guys ever read that document? We read it yesterday. Bit and I in chat read that yesterday. It is amazing. That guy was so good, not only at describing why it loaded so long, but explaining to be nice to Rockstar, like because the company, once they build the engine, they look at that loading speed and they're like, oh, unfortunately, this is where we are. Maybe we'll look at it later, but it's working and we're all accustomed to it. He was only looking at one thing. Why is that one thing? Then he had to decrypt it. He had to do all this crazy stuff. But he found out it was basically writing a file, then reading it again instead of verifying that it was there in the first couple bits. So he wrote this other thing that stated, like, this is the data I just gave you. You don't have to read this other file. And Bit was explaining it, going like, holy shit. So it went from 6 minutes flat, 6 or 5 minutes flat loading speeds to 1 minute and 30 seconds. And they paid him. It
felt more like an hour in that loading speed.
It did. But they paid him $10,000 because even though it was not a bug, they considered it bug worthy, so they put them on the bug payment program, where if you find a bug that is affecting the game, they'll pay you money.
That shit's cool.
The ransom bugware,
That's like
Microsoft
bounty
pays
hunters.
people. That's what it was. I thought that was awesome. What were you going to say, Addict? Were you going to add something? Did I talk over you? Did I cause you to forget what you were going to say?
It's not that forget. Yeah, I definitely forgot.
I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Whoop.
Anyway, that's my explanation of that. Let's see. Alex says the CEO of Arrowhead Game Studios has said he wants Helldivers 2 to remain playable forever, even if it has to sunset the games. So I'm assuming what they mean on that is that they would do an offline server of some kind, and I think that's probably what we would all want. It doesn't feel like it's that. It doesn't feel like, well, no, you know what? Because they have a DM system. I wonder what type of power that server has. Like that server needs to run the DM part of Helldivers and stuff. But I like that they're at least talking about it. But I bet you that's a lot. Like probably my little Pentium or my little AMD is not going to be able to run a server. I'm assuming that's on multiple devices and shit. Wouldn't that be great if all games start doing this, man? I don't think it'll happen, but it would be so amazing if the developers had this in place. Do you?
Yeah, I miss things like peer-to-peer, and I love when games, even Battlefield does this, where they let people have their own servers with their own rules and their own mods and stuff like that. That's always awesome, because what you get is like a lot of different communities who play different things, and even V Rising, like you got like mini communities where they have their own rules and rule sets. They form their own clans and have their own things going, and they don't have to rely on those dedicated servers being over what do you call it, like not working or overpopulated and stuff like that.
Do they take any money from that, by the way, or is it just you're basically buying another copy of the game? Yeah, how do you get the server? Go ahead.
I can host my own server for free, or I can like rent a third party to host the server for me. So the V Rising comes with its own like dedicated server thing, and I just pop it on and just host it myself. Yeah, pretty free form. Rust does that stuff. Battlefield, Arma, obviously, like a lot of them have really cool things.
Yeah, I like the idea of having your own, whatever happens in the future. I mean, maybe, who knows, it's a CD crack. I have no clue, but it does feel like, especially with console games, if you have a console game, you buy it. And by the way, Disney Infinity, many of these games that started in one way are not playable anymore or are messed up, or some of them have patched it so that every character is choosable. Which I believe it's Disney Infinity that does that, if I remember right, where it used to be that you bought them all. But then after they closed down the Disney company, the developer, you patched it, and now all the characters are available for the price. And I believe that's the way it's on Steam now. For $19.99, you just get... It's just
if games have been there long enough that like servers, there's no incentive to keep the servers running, they have to find an alternate solution, because I think that's the right thing to do. Just keep players the little amount, however little it is, to just have the option to do their own thing, right?
Well, and we don't know what will happen. What if it catches on? What if somebody makes a mod, and the reason why they're able to do that is because you have given them access, and suddenly a game you never thought people would want a sequel. They see a streamer.
Well, that's what happened with Among Us, man.
I know, dude. Yes, exactly.
Unknown for 2 years, the devs made it, and just that's it. And then out of nowhere, it just became the most popular game in the world.
Yeah, that's so great. Hey, Addict, you had said at 2:40, 2:30, 2:45 if you had to go. Do you still have time?
No, I'm still good.
Okay. So my next question, as we jump into something a little bit more detailed, Abzi made probably the biggest mistake ever in this last week. He bought himself an ultra-wide. And hasn't got it yet. But I just returned mine.
I'm nervous.
And the thing about the ultra-wide that I have noticed is not that future support is questionable, because it is a little bit. We don't know how that's all working out. But what I was having issues with was past games. And having to go in and do INI files and all this shit to get the HUDs correct. But one of the people was telling me, just turn half of the ultra-wide off, because a lot of them have options for that kind of stuff, like picture-in-picture or screen side-by-side partitioning.
Yeah.
My big question is this. This reminds me of your friend who spent $5,000 or whatever to make himself the car racing thing. And you see a lot of people have multiple screens, like side-by-side. Why don't... This is my question. I used to have a projector, and to me, that is your ultimate fix because it's above you and you could do a widescreen. But obviously, no one agrees because that's not what you see very often. And I'm not talking about movable cars. I'm just talking about a person playing. Did you ever, when you were looking at getting the widescreen, did you take into account future and past, or was it just because you're playing Tarkov and you want the big wide? What makes you dive into a technology that isn't for sure? I don't know what the term would be. That is not compatible.
I'm super nervous. I didn't buy it because of the ultra wide. I got it because apparently it's a really good OLED monitor, and I wanted to, and I heard a lot about it. But then like my friend got the Odyssey G9, which is the big ultra wide, and I was like, okay, I don't want that. I'm gonna get like the 21.9 one, like the small. And you know me, I love the more square. I don't even like super wide stuff.
That's why I was stunned, because you and I just said this 2 podcasts ago. Where we were talking about
I don't know.
liking.
I don't know if I like it, but I have like 2 friends that are in those cults, the OLED and ultra wide cults and stuff, and they're like, "Yo, this is gonna be awesome. You're gonna love it and all that stuff, and Ghost of Tsushima's gonna look good or whatever." And it was half an impulse buy, half okay. I've known for a long time I wanna try out OLED. But like I also started reading about burn-in and stuff, and I'm also super nervous about that. Thankfully, I have 4-year warranty on it that includes burn-in issues. So I don't know, man. I kind of just rolled the dice, and I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not, and if I don't, I'm just gonna return it. So
because it's so funny when you get that expense, because it's not super cheap, even though you can pay monthly, which is great, or quarterly on some of these payments. With ultra wide, why I returned mine was I was still nervous about future, because I know a lot of devs that I talk to. I'm like, "Are you supporting ultra wide?" And they're like, "No, we are not. It's got issues with the renderer where like." Do they have enemies that, aren't really drawn right away? Are there little things that they're doing for a normal specific 16:9 that if you go wider, it looks like shit, which you do see in some games. Cutscenes, by the way, which is why cutscenes a lot of times go back to the normal, because those cutscenes will break. But my big thing that I had was old games. And I guess I realized I play more older games than I thought. I guess I was under the assumption I wasn't playing a bunch because I'm a reviewer, but I started turning on a Fallout or turning on, an older game, going like, "Oh,
yeah, what's gonna happen to my Fallout 3 playthrough, man?"
It's not. You have to do a bunch. The mod doesn't work, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
But there's always fixes, INIs, and you can ignore some stuff. But I was wondering how your process comes, because there's so many choices. But it makes sense that you were looking at OLED, and then ultra wide's also in the OLED. And it's like,
I just heard a lot of, I kept watching reviews for the Odyssey, and everyone's praising it, and talking about how good QD OLED is or whatever. And I play in a pretty dark room, so I'm gonna have my brightness. I don't have brightness very high. So all of those things were working, not against it, with it. But yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna like it, man. It's gonna be like a whole new world. I don't know how I'm gonna like it for productivity either. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll like it more for productivity than gaming.
So the ones I've seen is, as long as you don't have the super curvature ones, they have that arc number that you can look at.
Yeah, not the 1800.
Yeah, if it's nuts, I've heard people saying, okay, this is definitely not, I have to have a flat screen for productivity, or it just doesn't work for me. But I have heard that I didn't have an issue too much. Mine, it's pretty wide, so I did have some space issues that were very difficult to get out of. And also, I did miss the horizontal. I do find myself going like, "Oh, fuck, I can't see." But yeah, it's interesting because I know OLED, QLED, all those are awesome as a new tech. But it seems like everything has its what do you call it? It's Achilles heel right now. And that is also a little nerve-wracking.
On Friday, it's either coming on tomorrow or on Saturday or Sunday, depending on if it gets shipped or whatever. So you'll see my reaction. I'm either gonna be a happy person or a sad person on
You'll
Friday.
be on the podcast and you'll be like,
yeah, I'll be like, "Yo, guys, what's up?"
What's up? I do that sometimes because I have a big monitor.
I don't know, man. Dude, I've just never gamed on a white. I've never gamed on an ultra wide, dude. I don't know. I always assume that I'm not gonna like it, so I'm still assuming that I'm not gonna like it. But well, I can worst comes to worst, I'll return it.
The new tech for displays, it can even be, micro, like all that new tech for displays. You will notice that minimum because the advances in the last 5 years, even for older techs, have increased so much. So that's the one place that you're sort of guaranteed you'll see, noticeable improvements. That part, the aspect ratio will be funny just because you and I were just sitting here and talking about it, and you were talking about liking high, and it was so funny. Go ahead.
Yeah, 16. Well, I love the one my laptop has, man. I love that resolution. Not the ratio, not 4:3, not 16:9, 16:10.
It's
like 16:10. I love it, dude.
Yeah, so did
I like it a lot more.
Yeah, it's hard. It's funny because I said I'm definitely accustomed to it now, but there is something that's just a little bit about it. Well, and by the way, a lot of handhelds have different portrait.
Mm-hmm.
They do 1920 by 1200 instead of 1080.
Yeah.
And you do sometimes when you're playing it go, oh, I sort of noticed that, and I think it makes sense for a handheld because you do need a little bit. It feels like everything's smaller, so maybe you do need more of the vertical. But yeah, I can't wait to see.
I think the first game I'm going to try with it is Horizon. So it's
a good game.
I want to see how it looks like. Yeah,
looks awesome. Yeah, it looks awesome. Yeah. What are you rocking over there, Lord? Are you rocking just a normal 27-inch 1080p?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything like special. I definitely don't know wide screen stuff. I've never really cared about stuff like that for some reason. Like I have a 1440 because I have a 3-monitor setup. Mm-hmm. I have a 1440p monitor in the middle, a 1080p 120 hertz on the left, and the right one's just a horizontal one, so it doesn't really matter a whole lot to me. I've just been one of those people, like, I care more about like what I'm playing on it, because I feel like sometimes, and that it's not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes people get like really invested into that stuff. Like they won't even play a game unless it's on something crazy.
We've all met somebody like that.
So I've never really been in that kind of scenario. Like I will say, ever since I went to PC and played Destiny, I have been more strict on whether or not I want to play something at 60 frames or not. Mm-hmm. I actually feel like the backdrop, what do they call that? What is it called?
Desktop?
No, hold up.
The backlights.
No, field of view. Field of view slider. I actually feel like that's just as important, if not, that's more important, if not just as important as
frame rate,
60 frames in general. Because even I will have the game at 60 frames on like Destiny, and it still doesn't feel right unless I move up that field of view.
Yeah, I wonder if with the ultra wide I'm gonna start just like maxing out field of view on games or not, dude. What is it? Oh my God!
And I can't turn that most of the time. You could turn that field of view up to like 120 or something like that. I usually keep it at like 90.
90, same.
Yeah, if I raise it too high, I get like motion sickness a little bit. I don't know why.
Yeah, it becomes like a fisheye. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say of all the things that are the most important to me, it would probably be FOV, because if it's tight FOV and a lower frame rate, that can cause some issues. Homeland, what was the second one, the Revolution or whatever, when I was doing the walkthrough for that, they hadn't patched 60 FPS in, but the more important thing was they hadn't patched an FOV slider.
Ooh.
And it was tight. It was like 57 or something. I mean, it was like barrel vision, and holy shit, man, when it dropped FPS. Yeah, it was crazy, but yeah, I would say it's hyper important. You see that on consoles a lot of times. When you play a console game, they'll have a tighter FOV. You'll see somebody playing on the PC and they're really not adjusting anything. You're playing on your console and you're like, that's a different FOV. That's like 10 degrees less or something. It's quite noticeable.
We're seeing more console games have FOV sliders,
Absolutely.
which is
absolutely,
especially with look, do they get it right with some of these performance? No, we're seeing it right now with Destiny. Starfield. People are saying that Starfield, it's impossible. That game's not going to be 60 frames, and like not even a year later, we're seeing that game hit 60 frames on the console. So it's like, look, these games can hit it. It's just it's resources. Can they? they got to get these games out in a certain time frame, most likely before a certain, a certain financial year, and sometimes they're like, "Look,
are you playing games right now?"
Yeah, what?
Turn that fucking game off. You're a guest on our podcast. What are you doing? I just realized this motherfucker's playing games. What a POS. Come on, Lord Addict. What are you doing?
Oh, you didn't even know I was.
I did know. Why do you think? How did I not know? I just asked you. I've seen it flashing for the last 45 fucking minutes. I was sitting here going, he can't be playing a game. He would never do that to me. Jeez, Lord Addict, man, come on.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Still
Necro says, I mean, he's an addict. Yeah, but you were stuttering over shit. You only got 5 minutes left. Calm down your addiction, addict.
I only stutter over stuff when I trying to think of words to say.
Turnoff says, to be fair, he's an, yeah, exactly. That's what he started doing. But you do have to go anyway, right? You're 12.
Yeah, here in a couple minutes. So, it comes down to that, the performance stuff's always been a big issue to me, but there's certain things that, I don't really mind too much, especially, I played Starfield, and Starfield, you could tell it wasn't 60 on Xbox, but it didn't feel as bad as you would think it would.
I didn't have, that one was not bad. I've felt bad feeling 30. I've felt bad feeling 60. You definitely
That's
depending
true.
on how it's
I have
delivering.
felt bad feeling 60.
Dude, I felt bad. We can go as high as 90. I was playing a game for a review that the game was delayed. It was a beta, I guess, but it was at 90 FPS, and it was there was definite issues at 90.
I actually don't. I refuse to play anything above 60.
Oh, you just lock it at 60.
I'll lock
basically.
everything at 60 because I still play a lot of games on consoles, and I'm not trying to get myself used to a particular thing, so I won't play anything above 60. And my rig can handle it. I got a good rig, but it's just I don't mind jumping up to play something. I don't want to come down too much to play something.
I found that
Makes
with
sense.
controller, I don't care for anything over 60. I really don't care with controller, but with mouse, I feel 90 is my anything above 90
Sweet spot?
it's so yeah, 80, 90 actually. 80 and up, everything over that is fine by me with mouse. But with controller, I don't care to get over 60 because I feel like the pulling and all that stuff with the mouse.
Yeah, controlling does things different, and it just for the most part, at some point it feels great, but the difference, you're still using a controller. It has a finite speed in which it can turn the screen. There's all kinds of weird shit that goes on in the mechanics. But a mouse and keyboard in particular, if there's something going on, you can tell in a mouse and keyboard. Like in a game that you play where the menu's fucked up speed-wise, or there's something going on in the menu and your mouse is dragging, even though the rest of the game is super responsive, and you go into the menu and you're like, what is wrong with this mouse? It feels weird.
Yeah, well, Bethesda games, well, the old ones at least. Oh my God, the mouse is like moving at 2 frames or something.
I still feel something's going
EMD.
on with Ubisoft games too, Abzy, where I'll move the mouse and I'll be like, are they drawing extra anti-aliasing? Like, are they? It's like they smooth the mouse out or something. There's something about it that just feels
Yeah, it's
off
not raw
at times.
mouse input. Like they have their own thing added
Even
into
though
it.
you have that off, right? Even though you have acceleration off, it still feels like there's some weird acceleration going on.
Yeah.
That's definitely for sure true. All right, let's finish up these. We're gonna finish up these tweet questions, and so that Addict can go, just in case some of these for them. I said people can ask topics. Let me verify. Fumo says, hey, ACG, what do you think of the new ChatGPT announcement? I've checked it out. I've been able to use it, and it's good. Is it a big world change? No, it is not, but it is cool. Did you guys do
exactly?
ChatGPT? ChatGPT 4.0.
Oh, is it out for everybody now?
I
not just the
believe
players?
it might be out for everybody. I pay, but I believe it's out for everybody. And it will for sure, they said.
I use ChatGPT to write emails. That's about all.
Oh yeah, I
Very
use it for
smart.
work
Nothing wrong with that. We've been using grammar and spell check for fucking 25 years. It's fine to use it for. I think that makes sense.
It helps a lot in work, man.
What's funny is I'll tell
absolutely.
ChatGPT after because there's certain things, because I talked to some people in PR. They're like, look, just make sure it sounds genuine. Because I talk to PR. PR don't care if you use ChatGPT. They actually find it funny. But I don't want it to be obvious that I'm using ChatGPT.
It's embarrassing.
They'll be like, I hope you have a fantastic, amazing day. I'm like, yeah, I'll literally tell ChatGPT, make it less robot, please. Like,
Dude, I don't know what they think, and I still get codes, but no one wonders if I use ChatGPT, because mine's like, sup, this is Karak with ACG.
You talk like a ChatGPT anyway.
Well, there you go. You could say that. Well, I don't know. Does ChatGPT say, sup, everybody, this is Karak with ACG, I want a code? I don't know.
For sure now, with how many times you've said it, they
do.
Oh, it's probably been scraped in,
it's in the,
right?
Yep.
Yeah. Mike says, to tide over fans of the Fallout TV show, what would you think of making smaller games that focus on a singular story like Walking Dead? We don't know how far away Fallout 5 is, so why not make smaller games? Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
What do you mean?
Like a Bethesda doing a smaller game that is, because Fallout 5 is so far away. Could you do a smaller game?
The thing with Bethesda, though, whenever they want to hit something, they want to hit it big. They want to not just big as in terms of like the size game. They want it to be as free as possible and sandboxy as possible. And an event, it just that's why they didn't they had to put 1,000 plant. They had to make it so that you could land everywhere. Like they weren't gonna make a tight location hub based thing. They were never gonna do that.
I actually wanted them to go more that direction.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people do for tight RPG games. But I feel like they just want to make sandboxes more than anything, and playgrounds for modders and all that stuff.
And the question too is, would Xbox give them the funding to do it?
As far as I know, but unless I'm wrong, I thought Bethesda had stated that they still handle their development ideas of what they want to do. They still have I thought they were like Activision, where they still have their own handle on the finances.
They do, but when it comes to additional funding. Like if they had funding for these particular games, but they want to expand a little bit more, they would have to talk to Microsoft about additional funding for those games.
Dude, I recently found out Michael Rappaport was in fucking Fallout. He was the
don't say but yeah, he's in there.
Dude. Yeah, sick, dude. That was funny, man.
Daniel Gamer says. Him. Oh, you didn't? Well, you mean even at the point you didn't recognize him? Because he looks older. I was like,
is that him? I did have that thought. Is that him? Yeah.
And Michael Rappaport's got that voice. He sounds like the guy who cusses all the time, and whenever he's not, he wants to. Yeah, exactly.
The biggest thing I want from them is I feel like it would be a no-brainer for them to make a Fallout New Vegas remake, or at least a remaster at the very least.
Bethesda or Obsidian?
I guess either one that wants to do it. I don't know. I think Josh Schroeder's done with Pendament, so maybe his team could work on it, because I don't know if he's officially working on a new game. I'm sure he is, but it's just interesting. I won't go into huge detail, but it's interesting that I do feel like, as long as it was talked about a while back, a Fallout New Vegas game remake would make a lot of sense next year.
Or 2?
I don't think they would do 2 though,
because of its form factor being up.
Yeah.
Let's see. Danowin Gamer says, any small games that are on your guys' radar?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Capes is coming out soon. Yep.
Let me see, man. I swear I do.
Edeon Chronicles, I'm playing that. That's really good.
What about apparently the last night, or whatever that Cyberpunk game was that Microsoft announced 77 years ago? I don't know.
Is that actually going to come out?
But they showed that 7 years ago.
They showed that before Cyberpunk came out, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was shown a long time ago. Maddie says, Greedfall 2 preview. Pausable Dragon Age style combat. Thoughts? So I saw that preview. IGN did a preview of it, and it is definitely not where I was expecting that game to go. I know that it was going to be different, but it's different enough that so far what I saw did not intrigue me. On the other hand, once we get closer to its release, I'll get more geared up. Did you guys see the Greedfall preview?
Oh, sorry.
Did you see the Greedfall preview?
No. Did they show gameplay and stuff?
They did. It was like Dragon Age Inquisition or Dragon Age 1 and 2 style combat.
You was a huge fan of the original Greedfall, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. I just this is early access and all that. Go ahead, Abzi.
So I know for small games, I'm looking forward to playing Animal Well. and
Oh yeah,
and
Animal Well for sure.
it looks so good. It's apparently 35 megabytes, by the way. And I'm looking forward to play the Prince of Persia game that's made by the Dead
early
Cells
access
devs.
one.
Yeah. I want to see how it is.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, because I know like Jason Schreier talked about it. When it come to Donkey Pup, that's the first game, Animal Well, because he even admitted he was wrong, that maybe there is a place for people like Donkey that make content to publishing games, because I felt like a lot of people felt like it was maybe too close to home to publish the games that you could potentially review. So like, do you guys got any like comments on that? Do you think that like more people that create content and like review content could practice that? Because I don't think that anyone could do that either. Obviously, there's a certain criteria, I would say, that to be successful, that matter. Do you guys have any comments on that?
But he's not reviewing it.
Well, I didn't say. I was telling you what Jason Schreier and like the Twitter verse was saying.
He makes no sense 90% of the time. Like, good reporting on news, but his thought processes are broken as shit, because he's there interviewing businessmen who've never made a game, who suddenly are CEOs of major companies in gaming. So you can't tell me that you would have an issue with Donkey making a fucking game and be like, I don't know if there's a place, when you're talking to the same 11 jackasses that have bought themselves into CEO positions. That's the kind of stupidity we get all the time in gaming reporting. And by the way, I actually don't like it. I'm not a big fan. Somebody asked me if I would want to, and I'm like, I don't know if I have anything extra to offer. But I'll tell you what, if somebody said, hey, you're a reviewer, you can't do that, I'd probably want to create it just to fuck that person, because that person's full of shit. It's just that I don't necessarily know if we offer anything other than, hey, I've played these games that were good. Donkey is offering something which includes his name and money and probably help, QA and all that. But if he's not reviewing it, he can do it.
I do feel too that there's a lot of people in the industry, in my opinion, that not necessarily their tone deaf what's going on, but sometimes you'll be seeing, like, especially in the AAA development, some of the decisions they be making, and you like, how they think that was going to work. Like, I feel like maybe be more in touch, like a modern audience. I don't know, like it's just like a kind of like a weird concept, because it's never really been done. I mean, there's people that's done stuff similar, but maybe not to his degree. And his first game, what did it like an 88 or a 90?
It's not
or
his
something
first
like that?
game. Let's make that clear. It's the developer's first game. It's his publisher's first.
That's what I meant.
That
That's
was
what I
my
meant.
thing. Like, I don't know what publishing, at least for him, I think there's a lot of things that go into publishing that are different between companies and between people. I guess it could also mean just funding and marketing and stuff.
Connections.
But,
Donkey probably has a lot of connections he can open up to the average person making a game.
I'm just happy, like, this guy was the guy who made the game. I think his name is Ben. Sorry, I don't know his actual name, but the developer was working on it for 7 years. He created the engine for it. He made every sound effect, every voice, every like song and everything. And I'm just glad that, like, he has like the funding and the he got the funding, and no matter who it is, just the marketing of it, like the ad, it obviously boosted. I think it boosted his sales, what he would have gotten if Donkey wasn't involved, maybe. But I'm just glad that, like, it got what he needed to finish that game, and like a lifelong project, and it actually turned out well, you know what I mean? Sorry, I stuttered my words. I didn't.
You'd be surprised, like, because I met Donkey at PAX East, like every day. He had like an hour or two he was on the floor. They had to like bring people to separate his people from the general audience, because it was so ridiculous that people couldn't walk through the aisles.
Oh,
right.
damn.
But here's the thing. That is sort of like saying, hey, I'm really surprised this Elvis is popular when Elvis goes to do an Elvis concert about Elvis. He's at a video game thing. Now, if you put him in a sports arena, a lot of people wouldn't know who the fuck he is. The thing that bothers me is people are pretending like Donkey had some big part in the guy developing, which he obviously didn't. Also, contacts, great, whatever. But guess what? Donkey's not sitting there at his desk going, my contacts will help you figure out how to get this integer problem right in your game. The thing that bothers me is that somebody has the fucking audacity to, like, call gamers toxic, which we are, by the way. I'll admit, many gamers can be toxic, including myself. It does happen. It does happen. But you can't tell me that's not fucking just as toxic to then turn around and say that, like, there's no place for somebody to publish. And by the way, I already stated I don't really think I personally could add anything other than consultation and contacts and helping them know what games I've liked in the past. I've done consultation on games.
I feel like that's a lot, though. Like,
okay, but I'm not saying it's
especially?
not. Exactly, but I'm saying if we know that's a lot, then when some CEO comes in who runs a business successfully outside of games, and we seem to have no problem many times with those people running these, you don't hear the same, oh, but it's Donkey.
I agree.
Oh, but it's Jim, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, what the fuck are you doing? What are we trying to do? What really happens is everywhere in gaming, we have these goddamn laws that we try to arbitrarily set down and put some line in the sand and say, nope, you're not allowed over here. And the thing that sucks is half the time, most of us don't care if we are, but we don't want to fucking hear that we're not, because that's really that causes more issues in and of itself where things feel closed off. I think what he did, really smart. Do I think it's as smart if, let's say, you get a first-person shooter Twitch guy making a first-person shooter? Not as much, because that shooter that they make may be catered to them. That is a different thing. What Donkey was doing, most likely, was helping with the publishing itself, getting the name out. Like you said, he's got a company together that way the developer knows exactly what he's going to get from Donkey. That kind of communication to a publisher that's small, like Raw Fury does. You know Raw Fury, Lord. We've dealt with them many times. Very small, nice publisher. That should happen. And currently, the nice thing is all these publishers are shrinking up. So if you get this guy over here who is bringing money in, then how fucking dare you even mention? Like, how, if you see the entire world contracting around you and somebody's trying to get in and help people and you're all, I don't know if it's, fuck you. Like, fuck you. That kind of stuff is half of the problem that we have, man. And we just see it all the time. It is. It's just stupid. And again, I'm not even for it for me. I'm not for it for probably a majority of these kind of situations. But for that, if I set up a publisher with you guys and I knew I was going to offer something, you were going to offer something, but we weren't going to review the game, hell yeah. Because, guys, have you guys checked into how publishers, especially small ones, get created? Do you know what it is 90% of the time? Somebody from, like, book publishing who decides they want to get out of books, and then they meet somebody who made a game as a developer who doesn't want to develop anymore, but they both know that there's some cool games coming. And they decide we're going to throw some money in, and we're going to handle the communication. Which, by the way, that guy was working for 7 years. The Among Us devs were working for a great deal of time. That kind of success to me, the game is obviously good. And so all he's really doing is just magnifying a signal, whether it be with his channel. Now, Abzi said something I don't even know if I disagree, but I was thinking about something. You said, you were talking about possibly helping. He might have also heard it, because we did see people saying, oh, it's Donkey, I don't like him. So I'm wondering how that might have hurt too, where you, or maybe they think because he does, I don't know if he does sponsored stuff, but let's say you did do sponsored stuff and then suddenly you've got to,
I just like the idea of using, like, you've cultivated this huge platform, you've made obviously a lot of money, and you have a lot of fans, and just using it for other stuff that you're passionate about, I think is cool. It can go wrong though, as you said, like with FPS players, that streamers play games very, very differently a lot of the time, especially in those competitive games, and they want stuff that is very different, like a top echelon of people would want, like not top, I mean like a very, very small minority of people would want, versus like the average gamer, but they might think that that's what the average gamer might like because they think their viewers is representative of the
chamber,
whole,
right?
They're in the echo chamber, so it could go wrong, but I just like the idea of like, hey, this is indie developer, I like what he's doing. I think Coco Energy is doing the same thing. It's like, hey, I'll provide funding, I'll provide my platform and try to help out where I can.
And here's the thing, funding. How in the fuck can we have people reporting on all the funding problems and then be even mention that there's an issue with people in the industry funding back? It's like, what do you do? As long, again, as that person isn't reviewing it. If they want to cover it and say, this is my game, well, guess what? Ubisoft does that. Anybody you can cover it and be like, it's sponsored, here's my game, blah, blah, blah. And maybe not talk about your thoughts on it, but do a trailer or something. I think that would be fine. Once you start looking into covering it, well then, I mean, that's a gray area. There's nothing wrong with it.
You certainly can't review it. I don't think.
Yeah, that would be odd to review. Yeah, that would be different. Go ahead.
Yeah,
What did you
I
say,
definitely agree. Especially, he just makes a video. I help in the process of this game, and just I don't mind stuff like that as long as they're transparent. Like if Donkey went on there, like I reviewed this game, I don't know anything about it. Like then I'll be like, okay, now you're being a little too extra.
Yeah, true. And he's not. That was the thing. He announced it pretty openly when he opened the company. I never expected him to not be open about that. The couple times I've dealt with him, very rarely, once or twice on Twitter, and he's been nice on comments. He'll come in and he'll be like, "Oh, I like this video," blah blah blah. But everything I've seen is just like, here's a Joker who likes games. I would rather have a Joker who likes games, who wants to put his fucking money where his mouth is, than
he's a very quiet dude too.
In real life, he's very quiet. Yeah. Do you have to go, Attic?
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. Yeah. So anyway, didn't mean to go on a diatribe. It just pissed me off a little bit. Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. Jeremiah, welcome to being a member. I want to say how much I appreciate it. You rock. If you guys get a chance, open up this on the side and thumbs up the video. Leave a comment, even if you don't like the podcast. You're like, Karak's dumb, and everybody should be able to review everything, including the game that they worked on. Whatever, post it in there. I would absolutely enjoy you doing so. Let's see. What else do we got? Let's talk about some cool news. Let's talk about something cool. Do we have anything cool? Do we have anything that's exciting in gaming right now? Is there anything that makes you, even if it's a new game coming out, or Ring, the DLC?
The Elden Ring.
Erdtree. Sorry.
I'm very impressed. There's this big content creator called Kai Cenat playing, going through Elden Ring and playing it.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up. It's amazing how someone that's never played the game and playing it has gotten Elden Ring trending for like a week straight, it feels like.
Yeah, and it's just I like seeing high production value, because a lot of streamers get very lazy. They get big and they don't do much. And the amount of production, like he made a whole trailer for his Elden Ring playthrough, like completely professional. They were acting and everything, and it looked really, really good. I like seeing that type of stuff where people are kind of trying out new things, and it's really cool to see. But yeah, that's about Elden Ring. I'm excited for the expansion. I'm excited for a bunch of games coming out this year. I'm hoping for Stalker 2 to be really, really good. That's pretty much where I'm at for this year.
Stalker 2, definitely. What about you, Lord? Do you have anything you're really excited for coming up?
I'm curious to see what the Star Wars game that's coming out. The Assassin's Creed game's kind of gaining my interest, especially with the dual protagonist. I really want to try this Destiny 2.
Last place. I want to figure that out, see exactly where Destiny's going to be. Avowed, I really want to play Avowed. Like, I hope that game turns out what it's like in my head.
Same.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not going to say anything about that.
I'm just hoping. I don't know, man. I love that world, so hopefully.
I'm just crossing my fingers on it. Somebody in chat had mentioned the server meshing in Star Citizen. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I was blown away, Star Citizen, how good it ran on my system now, and looks the way it does. Man, it looks awesome. I had a couple bugs, but I guess I got on during a server update. What were you gonna say?
Have you seen that war video that it got like tons of views? I think millions of views. I just watched it yesterday for the first time. It was released around a year ago, where they were all going in and fighting this other group, and then some dude.
That's the one I was telling you about. Yes,
some dude self-destructs. Oh my god, it's so cool, dude.
That is so cool. Yeah, I cannot wait to see this finally come out, because I mean, obviously we're gonna, there'll be problems with it, but Star Citizen's got some stuff that also, regardless of this game or what have you, they're coming up with ideas that will be used by other people to do other things, which is also cool in and of itself. But that war video is awesome. It shows a bunch of people going to battle. It's definitely something that I'm excited to sort of see. And it'd be nice if we live in a post-Star Citizen world. It's going to be a weird one. The day that gets released, it's going to be really like this odd moment in time, because all other than Beyond Good and Evil 2. Okay, Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Oh yeah, that too.
Star Citizen finally comes out, and then Star Citizen comes out, and they announce the sequel like a month later.
Hey, who knows? It may. No, it won't. They'll do that Squadron 42 first.
Didn't Valve announce that they're working on multiple games?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, I don't know what that. I don't exactly know what's going on there, but I mean, there's also been word about the Index 2 or what have you. So I don't know where they are with any of this stuff, but I'm assuming we're going to get something big from them to push the Index 2 whenever they're ready to start.
You don't think they're just gonna go into they're just not gonna make normal just games, just good games? Or they've never released anything bad, right?
Money. Yeah, they haven't, but I think Valve has enough money that if they want to push the Index, which was always at the top Steam sellers list as a $1,000 device, it was beating out games that were $9. Yeah, it was ridiculous. And I don't know if that's all proper reporting, in fact. There have been times where I'm like, what does that actually mean? Because some people say, oh, it's the total. And I'm like, well, that's impossible because this other game
I heard that.
just came out today and it's $199. It didn't beat out this or that. But whatever it is, I don't know. That thing was doing well. I think if they have another one, that's where we'll see Half-Life. What would we be at? Half-Life 3?
4?
Finally get 4. Well, there's Half-Life 1, 2, and Alex.
They're going to skip 3 just because no one said it would ever come out, so they want to make sure it's true.
What if they do? I mean, they could do that and just be like, give each one a subtitle and say 3 is for the flat screen, maybe. Or what if Steam Deck comes out and they time it in release with a Half-Life that runs, is certified to run on the Steam Deck 2, whatever the Steam Deck 2 is.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Wait, they did Half-Life 2, then Half-Life 2, then episode 1, then episode 2. Yeah. There was never. There's
no Half-Life 3. Yeah, we were joking there was going to be a card 3. Game.
Left 4 Dead has the number 4 in it. That's insane. Cause
wow, that was a deep cut. That took me a while to figure out what you meant. It does have a 4. Okay, I get you. Yeah, I think I could see them doing a Half-Life VR, but I don't know if I would. I mean, it would be great. That's one where I'd love to be wrong. It just feels like they make so much money and that they aren't really going on. They're like the Nintendo of PC, where they do their own. Hey, Steam machines didn't work. Let's do Steam Deck. Steam Deck didn't. Or Steam Deck's working, but now let's do Index. Or I don't know how they actually. I guess Index came out earlier, but they just sort of do their own shit. They just sort of put stuff together and do it their own way. Lord Addict, are you fucking playing games again? You're being... Our chat is going after you for playing games right now.
No, I'm not playing anything right now.
I feel like those flashes on the screen are definitely not from a web browser.
No, my middle screen has something up, but it's not a game.
It's not porn, is it? I'm just joking.
Really? Did you go straight there?
I will always go straight there. That was my patron. Thank you. I heard somebody ask. You can join that, jump in, and become a patron and chat with us. It's been a blast these last couple weeks. We're at 2 hours and 38 minutes. Let's look at any last bits of news. That was all the tweets. Oh, no. Our third-person tactical shooter's dead. This is from Evan. Our third-person tactical shooter is dead. There were tons of them, and now we don't have any. Or
like
many.
What? Like the old.
Would that be like
Ghost Recon?
Probably a Ghost Recon, not a Division, right? Like a single-player
Sniper
tactical
Elite.
third-person. Oh, Sniper Elite is good too. Sniper Elite's definitely
Sniper Elite 5
that.
is awesome. Yeah. Third-person tactical shooter. That's an interesting one because if it's tactical, wouldn't you? I mean, no, you don't have to be first-person, but I feel like if you want it to be realistic, does tactical imply realism? Or does it imply like more strategic thinking?
I think it's more
gameplay?
strategic thinking and counting your bullets, or maybe not having unlimited, or energy weapons. But it's more about like.
Would you consider like the old Resident Evils that then like?
No, those are not. Oh, I see what you're saying because the moment I said now I see what you're saying about counting bullets and shit and inventory Tetris. No, they're not. But. That does overlap, now that I think about it. No, I don't consider those that. I don't even know what I consider those. Horror, Tetris. Horror, inventory, Tetris, third-person shooter.
I saw in the... You're going to hate me for bringing this up, maybe, because I talk about it so much. But I saw I think it popped up on my feed that in the Resident Evil subreddit, they're like, they want the next Resident Evil to be an immersive sim.
What about...
Cool.
What's that game called? It was in Game Pass. There's 2 of them.
Rip that company. You're talking about Evil Within.
No, maybe
no. Never mind.
No. I'm sure someone in the chat. The sequel came out last year. I'm pretty sure you reviewed it, ACG.
But what is it? Horror? What are we talking about? Which of these are we talking about?
They call it like the Dark Souls of guns. Remnant, yeah.
Remnant.
Oh, Remnant. Yeah. No, those
Remnant's
aren't
not tactical, but it's certainly strategic, which is also weird. But tactical to me and strategic don't necessarily. I mean, tactical is sort of the established use of what you have, but strategy is somewhat that way too. That like they definitely have an overlap. I just think of tactical more like tactics with others.
I would say
tactics with what you're doing. Remnant's more strategy in the quick time. What were you going to say?
In the
Go
micro,
ahead,
yeah. That's what I was going to say. I think that's like more micro, kind of like skill-based gameplay versus tactical, which I would think is like macro. Like, oh, I know that people are patrolling here, and I have to like set up
tactical.
Like
the strategies, like to me in that shooter, is still there tactically, but it's just fast, and it's not. You're not watching for any kind of patrol because there's no fucking patrols.
I know you're probably not going to agree with this, but the thing I think the most when you say that's like Mutant Year Zero. I don't know why. Like,
that game, man, that did not.
Because you have to like post your people correctly.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a turn based, but not a turn based at the same time.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
you could actually put people in kill boxes. I love that game.
Did you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Is that the animal one?
Yeah.
That one was hard.
Yeah, dude. It had some really bad difficult bumps too. Like it would be fine, and then it would just be like
no reason.
For no reason. Yeah, I mean none. It was like they just decided at this point it was going to be arbitrarily hard.
I got stuck in a barn once. Was there for 3 hours because I couldn't figure out how to get past that encounter.
Oh, dude, it probably the same barn. Is that a Pokemon comic on your wall, Lord Attic? That looks like. Oh, that's pretty cool. So it's just like Pokemon cells, and but it's different cells of like it's supposed to look like a comic book, but it's different Pokemon.
Yeah. Pretty much, it's. Look
at that shit,
dude. That's why.
That's cool. What? Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Speaking of tactical, that's why I enjoyed Rainbow Six Extraction so much because we get a lot of those like kind of zombie-ish games where you just shoot zombies and stuff, but that one had like a tactical element to it, which I don't see happen a lot in those types of games. You know,
I enjoyed that way more than most. I really had a genuine. You know, is it equal to like a Division? No, but Division had been out for a while and had patches and all that. So it was definitely rough. It was definitely one of those games. But man, I really liked the setup.
I liked
for that.
it a lot.
Yeah,
I liked that game.
People commenting on my poster, they said Starfield and Pokemon
and Starfield.
I got Spider-Man beside the Starfield combo.
Starfield's, dude, I dig their art, man. I dig all their art aesthetic, that NASA punk. Yeah. I dig that. I always have.
I wanted to put a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and replace the Starfield one with it, because I always try to have like. I'm at least playing one of the damn games on my wall. I kind of like went away from that after a while because I felt like that was just a lot of time. Got to go to Walmart every couple weeks. I don't do that shit no more. I literally got like 40 posters beside my computer.
Damn.
Oh, you mean sitting there and then you replace them when you want?
Yeah.
I used to do that, and then I took a picture of my background and just use it as a fake green screen. It works amazing.
Yeah. I even have this anime one that I never put up.
Oh, that's not bad though. What is it for? What anime?
This is Bleach.
Oh my god, I haven't seen that in so long, dude.
I just watched I'm watching the volleyball one. I watched 2 episodes yesterday.
Wait, which volleyball? Oh, I heard a lot of good things about that one. Yeah.
So far, just for me, so far nothing has happened at all. They've he got the shits because he was nervous. And then that was one episode because they're only 20 minutes long, or they're like 30. They're very, they're very truncated. But it's not unwatchable. Like the bad thing was, for whatever reason, no dubs, and the subs are bad. I was told Crunchyroll subs are questionable sometimes. This one's super questionable. Like the stuff he says is all that for sure. That's like a fan who's just learning Japanese kind of, they're definitely bad. But I got through the first 2 episodes.
There's this anime out that has like the best dubbed I've ever heard. It's called Solo Leveling, and like
I heard about
the character who plays the main character. Like a lot of the anime community are deeming him like some of the best dubbed voice acting that's ever been
really?
done in anime.
Because his voice fits the character kind of thing?
Well, it's not. No, it's just how he's doing it. Like, there's a time where he was fighting like this big macho dude, and it was like a very intense fight, and he used his voice so much he started bleeding, and they had to like delay the hearing, the
Jesus.
recording.
Jesus, you can bleed from?
No, you just go watch that particular scene that he's like his throat started bleeding.
giggling?
You'll understand why he was doing it.
Jesus.
Sorry, I was just making sure my delivery wasn't here. I will say it's pretty close because I was investigating the Dune soundtrack, the Hans Zimmer Dune for the movie. And the girl who screams, she doesn't sing any real music. She just screams over the top of some of the music. It's like her lone vocal. He was saying that he got her to do that because she was within like 1% from fucking her voice up forever. But she's been doing it for years, and she knows exactly where damage won't be done. But it's close. And so when she does it, it's very chortly. It's very like in the back. You know, you can hear things getting, you know, it's like flying flying a spaceship in a video game too fast and shit starts shaking and stuff. It was a very cool video that he covered with them. Really interesting how close she was to doing damage. Would she bleed? No, I don't think so, because they don't do the repeats like I'm assuming a voiceover. Maybe they were having him do repeats and you get a sore throat to the point to where it's raw.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, we hear that kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's not true, but you hear it sometimes, and then you find out it's like, oh, no, he bit his tongue, and that became the thing. You know, you never quite know. It's like, I worked so hard and got so far. What were you saying?
Like, it was like one of those scenes where there's like a lot of like screaming and fighting and stuff. So
yeah,
they pretty much was like, we're going to take a couple of days break because they didn't want to damage his vocal coins.
Any muscle or any tendon or what have you, you can overuse it to the point. But what if you were screaming so loud and your tonsils just fucking flew out, man? They were like, blah! I don't have tonsils, but if you do have tonsils.
Then you learn how to use that as a weapon. You just start shooting tonsils at people.
Dude, that's gross. That's grotesque.
Dude, this type of shit reminds me of like when you're watching Lord of the Rings and someone's like, when Aragorn like hit that helmet with his foot, he broke his foot, or like the Leonardo DiCaprio and Django Unchained, he actually bled there, you know? Like there's a lot of those.
The only thing I've noticed for the Lord of the Rings, weirdly enough, and Cadiz can back me up on this because I watched it with him, I said, why was that scream so weird sounding? That didn't sound like Aragorn. And that's because it went higher than it would have if he had been screaming without breaking his fucking toe on the helmet. Because when he screams, he's normally got a very whatever, but then he hits it and he's like, and I was all, that was weird in the movie. And we walked out and I was like, did you notice that was, you know, that weird timbre to his voice? It was authentic. It was like, it wasn't him trying to be the actor. He was like, my fucking foot just broke. And you do see that where somebody, they'll break a hand or they'll cut themselves like Leonardo did.
Or
and
Tom Cruise breaking a leg while jumping.
Dude, that's the take they use.
Yeah.
That's why, like Baby Blood and Alien, you know, fantasy alien gods might be right, because that is and he gets up and he's like still running on his broken ankle. I'm like, dude, seriously, what the fuck? Like, I'm glad he's nuts so I can watch him. You know, I don't need to care about him, but I definitely, when he dies, we're going to be out those good voice actors. Go ahead.
The Now You Can See Me, that movie, I remember.
Made by a YouTuber or some shit.
Now You Can See Me. It's about the magicians.
Oh, that one.
And,
okay, never mind.
I remember seeing on YouTube Shorts, there's a scene where the chick that's part of the group
almost drowns. Yeah,
and like that was real. Like she was really panicking because the little thing that's supposed to come up when she needs air stopped working, and she was really drowning. Like,
you can see the fear on her face at one point when she's hitting the side of the inside of the box when they realized that they had chained it wrong or whatever. You know, that kind of stuff happens.
Imagine how crazy it's like. You almost died there, but that was so lit we used it.
Dude, and if you're there to agree with everybody, you most likely are like, let's use it. But if you're not there, then it's a lawsuit and it's big news. But instead, it was just like, I bet that's exactly what happened, man. That was awesome. You did great. I almost died. Yeah, but that was awesome. You were great. And they're like, all right, let's put it in there. Yeah, Isla Fisher, and she's definitely a pretty person. Totally off topic, but I'm just wondering what resolution you run most games on your Legion Go. I either do scaling at whatever that is. It goes to, what is it? I think it's 1440p. I change it a lot, but it's native, and then I use integer scaling if there's an FPS problem, and I think native on that is it's portrait, so I'm having a hard time doing the numbers. But it's not 1440p; it's whatever version would be in portrait mode. A little bit more in 1600 maybe. Yeah, something like that. Sorry, I don't know off the top of my head. It requires math. I ain't good at math. Jeremiah says, do you have a Legion Go and a Steam Deck? And if so, which do you use the most? I did have both, and I returned the Steam Deck. So I would say I use the Legion most. What else do we got? Do we got anything else? Anything amazing? Any incredible shit?
That's about it. I mean, there's the Xbox Showcase was announced, but you guys probably talked about that last week.
Not really. I mean, it's right now, all we know is that some games haven't been seen. They're going to show some games we've seen that they've shown, and it's Call of Duty for the afterwards, right? That's pretty much our overall thought process of what's happening at that event.
I ain't gonna lie. Like, I understand why they're showing Call of Duty, and they should. But when I saw that direct, I was mad.
Okay, I get that thought, but I will also say that they got to move forward at some point.
Oh, I feel you.
At some
I know
point.
why they're doing it, but me in particular, that does nothing for me. Like,
you mean why? Because you're not.
I don't play Call of Duty.
Oh, I see. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, that can happen. Yeah, any trailer. I saw somebody say they don't care about Assassin's Creed today with the Assassin. Yeah, that happens. I get that. I thought you were saying something in specific to that. I think with Call of Duty, man, I want to see it because I want to see what they're doing. That's it. I've liked some, I've disliked some. That's any long series I'm sort of that way with. So I'll check it out. There's some times where Call of Duty shooting's fun. Not the multiplayer's okay. There's been a couple that were fun, but I'm not a big Call of Duty fan. I'm more interested in like where Battlefield's going in the future. Not because I like it better, but I'm interested in just what they're doing and where they're going and why people aren't going to the future. Because I want Battlestar Galactica.
I generally did enjoy Battlefield more than Call of Duty, but even Battlefield, I kind of like stopped playing it too. So
I think
played
a lot
a little
of us
bit.
did.
Yeah,
You played a little bit of 2042 or whatever?
I played it recently. I had some fun with it, but I don't know. It just doesn't hit the same as 4. 4 was the last one I really, really enjoyed a lot. It just felt more tactical. Here we go, man. We talking about tactical. Just felt more tactical with like squads and stuff. Now it just feels like a big map, Call of Duty in a big map, man.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I don't know
I mean,
what the hell changed.
Remember when we all saw this, when games were not all first person, and they all went first person, then we started getting open worlds, and they all went open worlds. And some games just don't work. It's not even their strength in their fiction or anything to be open world, especially in a Call of Duty, in fact. There's parts about Call of Duty that I'm like, you can have open hub or a big level, but an open world, it's like, what am I doing now? Why is it open world at all? Then it's just like, it just doesn't feel as good. I like it when
they
it's
make
set piece
Splinter
to
Cell
set piece.
remake open world, I'll lose my shit.
If they make Splinter Cell remake at all.
Do you think they're not?
Dude, it's Ubisoft, man. I mean, we haven't heard they might we haven't heard anything about Splinter Cell in a while. Like, I want to just see some shit. I'm tired of even talking about. I'm not tired it's bad you brought it up. I just mean it'd be nice to finally see some stuff and go, oh, we're getting this. But maybe that's what the direct is. Imagine their Ubisoft thing in June. It'd be great if they showed like 3 or 4 games and one of them just all you hear is with the little sound effect.
But show gameplay.
Dude, can you imagine that shit? If even if it was just the first 10 seconds of him walking around the level, it would be awesome.
Anything. Yeah.
All right, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to get going. I got to go take care of my dogs that are barking, and we're at 3 hours anyway. I want to thank Lord Addict for the hour and a half that he was actually in the podcast and the other hour and a half that he was playing games.
Still rising.
Oh, my God.
Man, yeah. Dude, you're going to get eaten alive in our comments. I can already tell.
Here's the thing. You guys don't know this, but I do that everything. IOP. Like, my ADHD is so bad, if I don't, distribute my attention on multiple things at once, I literally can't sit in this chair for more than, 40 or 50 minutes.
Murderers have excuses, too.
Oh, I hear
And
you.
I'm saying,
I ain't
murderer,
killing people.
Murderer, you, completely in my brain equal. I'm just joking. Anyway, that'll be
Hey
it
man,
for
you
us.
have to go to the Twitter bio and put that you're neurodivergent and ADHD and OCD.
Somebody told him to get a fidget spinner, or you can just do that. You can get a fidget. Anyway, that'll be it for us. I want to thank Lord Attic for showing up. I want to thank Absy for always being here on Wednesdays. You guys will see us on Friday. If you get a chance, I would love for you to come to the podcast. But regardless of all that, please open up the video, like it, comment on it as the video itself, because that does help. Yo man, $2 super chat says, thanks for entertaining me in the Arizona heat. One love. That's the other thing. It's actually pretty hot here, so I gotta go fucking get the dogs out of the sun. I didn't realize how hot it was here. Peace out, everybody. I hope you guys have an awesome week. Boom dazzle.